Dangle podcast. Powered by Sports Interaction. Wanna bet?
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Lyle.
Woo! You know what I think? I think it's stupid that Leaf fans are acting like they won the cup. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Leaf fans win the cup, Leaf fans.
Jesse, I need you to turn my headphones up because I've been waiting to hear myself say this shit for a long time.
On it.
Crank it. There it is. There it is. The Leafs have won a series.
Yeah. And as you said in your LFR last night, it's a completely normal thing to do.
It's totally normal.
Hey, one step at a time.
That's
One
right.
step at a time for Mr. Tavares.
All right.
Let's go.
Who joins us on the show today?
Joins us on the show
In
as a guest.
honor of John Tavares, I got us as close to blue-colored kombucha as I could find.
Purple.
Some of that purple drink. We're gonna get some of that purple. Here, so
Purple
I would like
drink.
you guys to do a John Tavares. It almost foamed over on me, and I
I
almost
can't open
coughed
my
a
eyes. I
little.
shook it a lot.
Okay, well,
Boys, to Johnny, to the
Johnny
Leafs,
Tavares.
to
Woo!
victory.
all right,
open
all right.
this.
Let's have a little sippy.
You need me to
Open it.
Jesse shook the hell out of that.
You fucker.
I can't believe he didn't see that. Jesse's doing it the whole time. Steve's looking at me. Here, Justin, please.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Here, I'll take this one.
Justin Fisher, who showed up for work today on a Sunday because the Leafs won. How about that?
I got 3
What a
liquids
maniac.
on the go. We just got this fucking building. Jesse!
Get the blue towels on the counter. Get those.
Thank you. And we probably need them wet, if that's all right. Thanks, Justin.
Like 2 of them wet, 2 of them dry.
I want to do a little shout out. Shout out to our Dangle pick scores. The winners have not been determined yet. But out of 2,006 entries, I was 1218. Jesse was 758.
Top half.
And Steve Dangle 26th overall.
Go!
Well done. Now remember, the winner of that gets a Mitch Marner signed jersey. And if you're asking, yes, we did actually save some for the second round. So that's powered by Sports Interaction. We're going to we'll have more of that as the series. We don't even know as of this recording who the Leafs will play. We haven't found out anything. I think tonight the Bruins and Panthers play at about 6:30. And I think the thing that
Kill some more time.
I didn't think the kombucha would actually take this much time.
Jesse straight up took advantage of my nature to help people.
And the idea, somehow, by the way, that Jesse Blake couldn't open something is hilarious to me because he has by far the strongest fingers of any man I've ever met.
Easily.
Oh, that's
easily.
phrasing. I don't know what that means.
He's got strong-
What is that?
There's been times where Jesse has gripped me, and
Wait.
I've never felt so safe. Because I know that no one can get past that grip. So cheers to John Tavares.
Gosh.
By the way, you guys have to take a sip. You have to take at least one sip.
yeah.
You have to take a
Championship
sip. That's
sip.
part of the cheers.
Yeah.
Part of the cheers. Part of the cheers. Part of the cheers. Take a sip. I've already taken a sip. You got to take one. Here we go.
Oh, that tastes so good.
It's actually
so
really
wet
good kombucha.
right now.
It's also
It's
called,
so
I
good.
thought it was funny because it was called Rise. And I'm like, this is what they did. They rose to the next level.
All right.
Now, I want
That's
to...
a big reach.
There's something I want to do, too. So I this morning,
Fucking did that.
for some reason this morning, I actually logged onto my Facebook account, which I haven't done in a long time. Jesse, you got to do a show, Jesse. Jesse just shook the kombucha again.
Don't put fun things in my hands. I'm going to take advantage and be a menace.
Yep.
I'm going to be a menace to society if you put fun things in my hands.
Don't
Adam.
put fun things in Jesse's capable hands. Strong hands
They do grip you.
and fingers.
So my Facebook status update from April 30th, 2016.
I want to hear
Oh
it.
yeah.
Hell freaking yes, with 7 exclamation marks. We won something. We actually won something. Hashtag Leafs, hashtag Matthews, hashtag Orline, hashtag yeah. Because remember, there was a debate. There was a small debate for a split second that, this Patrick Laine kid, maybe he's better.
Dude, I was there in Buffalo, and when they invited Mark Hunter up, I'm like, you fuckers, don't you dare, you fuckers.
And they went out and they did it.
And they got Austin Matthews.
Yeah. So that was good. The other thing I want to say, and I owe it to everybody on Twitter last night, but specifically Ailish Forfar. So you know how the Tampa Bay Lightning's singer, who is phenomenal by the way, the anthem singer, has blue lipstick on.
Indeed.
Ailish posted a picture of her and said, if the Leafs win tonight, I'll wear this on the show all week. And I retweeted her and said, just for her show, because she has a show, right?
The lipstick.
Yeah, the lipstick.
Oh, okay,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah.
So I retweeted it and said, if the Leafs win tonight, so will I. So I need to make good
Let's go!
on it.
You can't challenge yourself to a bet.
I went to Shoppers Drug Mart this morning, and I got some lipstick that I will be wearing.
What are you doing?
I will be wearing this all week on the show, including into the second round, because that was the thing. I needed the Leafs to win, and now I've done it. And
let's go! Yeah! Need that. Yeah.
there it is. Get a close up of Steve there. It's a good lip.
It is.
Yeah.
You're a little
all right. So
Can we just make it clear that you challenged yourself to do this?
I wasn't a
He
challenge.
just wanted to give me a smooch.
Yeah, I want to give Steve a big kiss. So anyway, this is what we're doing this week. Now, the Leafs. One thing that was really funny before the game is like the big story going into the game before we knew what the lines were was the Leafs ate together. And Sheldon Keefe said it was the first time they'd ate together.
God, hockey's so silly.
On the road in the 4 years that he'd been the coach or something.
Yeah. The first time they all ate together on the road, they didn't have their little cliques or whatever. I would love to know whose idea it was, because you got to know it's going to come out that it's like, savvy veteran Ryan O'Reilly was like, what if we all just went to
Burger
fucking
King.
Applebee's together?
No, it's gonna be like Wayne or like Luke.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Luke because he played there.
Yeah, it's probably Shen. He picked the restaurant.
Yeah.
He's like, I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, guys, I'm a local here. I played here, so I know all the spots.
Maybe they went to Oak and Ola, or Dats, or Seasons 52, or
Fuddruckers.
or On Swan.
Do they have a Fuddruckers?
Do they have? You know what they do have? Cracker Barrel,
Oh, damn.
home of the best blueberry
They got
pancakes.
Jack Astors in the States?
No, they don't have that.
They don't?
They don't have Jack Astor.
They don't know what it's like to have buffalo wings with fries and beer and cheddar soup?
They have no idea.
They got
You
Boston
s-
Pizza?
And you say you
No,
have
Boston Pizza's
freedom.
Canadian.
Inside, like they haven't expanded to
No.
the States? What?
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I know.
Telling me there's no Boston pizzas in the United
There are
States.
no Boston pizzas in the States.
Mr.
I don't
Treliving.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
do I
making
have
a
to tell
good
you to do
Treliving up here.
business?
Is he really Treliving?
Oh, no.
Sounds like he hasn't Trelived yet until he brings Boston pizza to the United States
and then
of
Boston,
America.
and then Boston will go. Finally, we can Trelive. We have
there you
Trelife. All right, so they ate together, so that was good, and I'm like,
And that's
great.
why they won.
So as a Leaf fan, when I see
it.
that, all I could think was, shit. If they lose this game, everybody's gonna be like, they ate together and they still couldn't get it done. There was a joke to be made there, and I wasn't smart enough to make it.
I read it and I'm like, this is either a good thing that takes them over the top, or this is worse than the fucking handshake line quote.
Yeah, there's a lot of Last Supper jokes that are going to come out of that. If they don't get it done,
Right.
and then they go and they die.
Oh, that's the joke.
Yeah.
That would have been a pretty good joke.
It's like they lose Game 7 after that, and that's their Last Supper
Yes.
and
Yeah.
all that nonsense. It would've been
Absolutely.
awful.
Absolutely. Now, the Lightning, going into this game, had won 22 playoff series since the Leafs last won their own.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
22.
And 3 cups.
Yep.
2004.
Yeah, people forget that year.
my God.
Now,
Holy shit.
So in the morning, it comes out that Timothy Liljegren wasn't at free skate early in the morning. Usually when you're scratched, you're at the free skate. And we're thinking, okay, well, that might mean he's not scratched. But so you figure that he's in. And then they surprise us with the 11-7. Okay, wow. Now, what I assumed with the 11-7 was, okay, so you got to keep Hall in the lineup because Keefe is staple to him.
It's exactly what I thought.
And I'm like, he's going to be in the lineup. But no, they surprise us that Hall doesn't even dress. Lafferty and Aston Reese are also out. We've got Gustafsson, we've got Liljegren, and we got Michael Bunting back in the lineup, and we will come back to him. But honestly, I tweeted this at the time. You got to give him credit for not doubling down on a bad thing, which is the Leafs of the past. If you could criticize them, well, you could criticize them for a lot of things. But even in this era, one of the things that they are so stuck to is their process. They are process-driven people. And I remember when the Rays had Blake Snell in Game 6 or Game 7 of the World Series, and it's like, well, we need to load manage his innings, even though he's pitching really well. We're going to pull him in the 5th or 6th inning, and they ended up losing the game, even though he was like unhittable. And Dubas went on a couple weeks later and said, well, I would have done the same thing. That's the process. And people wanted to jump through their TV screens at him.
It's like when Thomas Caberlet won the accuracy competition at the All-Star game, and then someone asked him afterward, does that mean you're going to shoot more? And he said, no.
Right. It's annoying.
I wanted to kick my parents' television because at that time I did not own one
So
myself. I was a child.
So the Leafs, I think of yesteryear, even last year, probably wouldn't have taken Hall out of the lineup. But it was so egregious.
They didn't have the horses.
Well, that's also true. They had depth. And I thought Gustafsson dressing was interesting because, A, I believe he's coming off a minor injury, and B, not known for his defensive prowess.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this might shock Washington Capitals fans or anyone who's watched him play over the years. Since he's come to Toronto, he was a defensive liability on his first shift, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
He's been fine.
Well, I don't think it's that. It's just that I think that in Chicago and in Montreal, he wasn't perhaps known for his strong defense.
Right.
It's so ridiculous.
Right? What?
I know.
Looking at you is ridiculous.
What do you mean?
It's fine that you're wearing blue lipstick, but the way you put it on, you look like gold dust right now.
Do I?
Yeah. You look a lot like gold dust.
Oh, my God.
Listen, take me seriously. I am a serious person. Serious sportsman. So Lafferty and Aston Reese also said, I thought Lafferty coming out, we were kind of like, yeah, we sort of expect that. But Aston Reese, the reason they got him was games like this.
Yeah, well,
He hadn't played well.
Keefe, so earlier in the series, he said guys are dealing with stuff, and then he didn't change the lineup at all. And we're like, you're a liar. And that's fine that you're a liar. It's the playoffs, but you lied. Mm-hmm. And then this time he does it again, and he says guys are dealing with injuries, and he makes huge changes to the lineup. Is he still a liar? I don't know if Aston Reese is hurt. I don't know if Lafferty is hurt. I would believe that Hall is hurt. Mm-hmm. But I really, really, really loved after the game. I know you're trying to talk about the game.
No. That's fine. That's fine.
Sorry. But that shot from the Leafs box of Simmons celebrating with Aston Reese and Hall next to them, sort of off camera, losing his fucking mind.
Yeah.
And for as much as I criticize Justin Hall, I mean, we've been through all the numbers. He was on for 14 out of 20 goals. It's pretty bad. Awesome dude. Incredible.
They love him.
Incredible teammate. Like, listen, I don't know if asshole Justin Hall would still be here, but he's such a good guy and such a good teammate. They love this guy. They root for this guy. And he does give them good minutes. He just hasn't done it in the series, right?
Now
Exactly.
that the series is over, there's like an opportunity to kind of look back and just see how the 6 games went. And the 6th game was really the first opportunity that Sheldon Keefe had to make a lineup change, because when the Leafs have beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3 games in a row, you can't go out there and be like, okay, I'm going to switch up everything and make the changes that he did in Game 6.
He would have been criticized no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. So if there was a time to do it, it would be after that Game 5 loss. So I thought like, okay, Justin Hall had a bad game 3, 4, and 5, but if you win those 3 games, how do you justify wholesale lineup changes? Even with Michael Bunting, like having him available, you say, no, we just beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 3 times in a row.
Twice there.
How are we going to put him back and shake up this whole lineup? So it made sense to go back in game 6. You go with this big change. You get Bunting back in. You remove Hall, who's been a liability, and success.
Yes. Yep. And, it's surprising because, again, they're so process-driven. The fact that they did it is great. Now, the Leafs, and getting into the first period, the Leafs and Lightning kind of go back and forth at the start. Samsonov, pretty much from the get, looked strong.
It was great.
He was the best goalie in 4 of the 6 games. Mm-hmm. Absolutely incredible job.
The Lightning somehow had 2 penalties called against them in the first period, which is shocking. I don't know how that happened.
And I just nailed it, though, on the stream. So they get 2 penalties. Both were penalties. There were no chintzy calls in this game. They were both 100% penalties. The trip on Nylander, you have to call it. What was the other one? The trip on TJ Brody, you have to call it. And the Leafs blow both opportunities. And I was just like, the Leafs are getting 2 penalties in the second period, and that'll be the end of it. And they didn't waste any fucking time, did they?
They didn't.
Shen,
they
less
didn't.
than 30 seconds in.
They didn't. But I guess to me, I wanted to shout out the second Leafs power play in that period because they actually got some chances.
It's pretty good.
They got set up. It was the first time to me the Leafs power play had looked like itself since Game 3. Like really looked like, hey, because Tampa has, what they've done actually really well is they've pushed the Leafs and not allowed them to get set up. They keep interfering with the setup.
They make it really difficult, and Tampa moves the puck so well on theirs. They just didn't feel as threatening, and I'm waiting for, obviously it's not like Tampa locker cleanup or whatever, but I'm sure those guys are just beaten to absolute shit. Kucherov didn't look right.
No, he didn't.
Point didn't look right. That whole top line was shockingly ineffective.
Well, and we'll get to some of those things too. So Justin Fisher from SDPN tweeted this in the intermission, and it was during the intermission show that you didn't get to see because obviously you're on your stream.
Yes.
And quote, I think Tampa is going to get power plays now. We know this is how this works. And Justin wrote, imagine one of the game's most well-known commentators saying this about playoff officiating and the league just being like, yes, this is good. We are doing a great job.
Yep.
And that's what they did.
And we were right.
Sure enough, Shen penalty in the first minute. I think it's 20 seconds in. Like, it's crazy
and it was a penalty.
23 seconds.
There it is.
Yeah, it was a penalty.
He did. He got his glove high.
Punched him in the face.
Yeah.
But it gets called 100% of the time because they're down on the penalty meter. And if that high sticking happens, which it did happen towards the end of the game, it doesn't get called. So there's a difference between when penalties are penalties and when they're not, which is an absolute batshit crazy way to play a sport where the rules are supposed to be in a rule book and they are just called as is on the ice.
Yeah, and
that's ridiculous.
I know we're gonna get to the Brody high stick, but you see what I mean? You see what 48 hours ago we were talking about Dave Jackson?
Yeah.
Dave Jackson's quotes with Greg Wyshynski. It's just not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We missed them. It's just not true.
No, you chose not to call them because of the circumstances of the game.
Yeah, and I know exactly why you didn't call it. I mean, Brandon Hagel wasn't injured on the play. There wasn't an imminent scoring chance, and he sold it like day-old bread. Mm-hmm. So
we'll get to that.
They're not going to call it.
And then with the injury thing, sometimes it matters and sometimes it doesn't because you can fracture your neck and not get a
We're getting to that.
Well, that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
How isn't producer Drew? Oh, man.
Oh, man. Absolutely. Now, Shen did get a breakaway, by the way, after that penalty, and I just thought if Shen scores on a breakaway, this is going to be the wildest game.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. Matthews did finally break open the scoring in the second with 6 minutes to go. They had an extended amount of time on the Tampa zone, and what was so crazy about this is Matthews calls his own shot, but it's not like, hey, pass me the puck. It's like he says to TJ Brody, who's standing at the blue line, I'm going to go this way. And then he goes, okay, now I'm going that way. Now pass it to me.
And just so subtle. And listen, Matthews was an animal on that shift. TJ Brody, animal.
Yeah.
All night animal.
Yep.
And he had games where he struggled. That's the best game he's played as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Absolutely.
What a fucking star.
Now, I want you to know that once that goal went in, I'm watching the Steve Dangle stream, and I've got 2 dogs, and they have 2 very different reactions to the playoffs. Bindi, my one dog, she's just kind of chill in her older age. She's still got the puppy energy, but she just is like, I'm not going to let things faze me the way they used to. She used to be very anxious.
Yeah, Bindy's calmed down. Her and Charlie had a adopted dog fight. We both had baggage.
Yeah, she used to be. She was full street back then.
Yeah.
Now she's cool.
She did not pick that fight wisely. Charlie
no.
was 80 pounds.
Yeah. Now, Cedric, who is my little schnauzer, whose definition as a breed is he's a guard dog. They're German guard dogs. That's what they're there. They're there to guard the farm. And when you see Seti out in a park or in the backyard, he does the perimeter. Oh. And he actually
he's looking for a way out.
We have a window at the front of the house. I'm looking for a wabbit. It's Looney Tunes.
Elmer Fudd.
Yeah,
it's a popular cartoon.
He's looking outside of the window. He always looks outside of the front window of our house, and when the Amazon drivers come up, he goes like, woof. Just why I oughta. Mm-hmm. But after that went in, Steve's stream had so much emotion in it that, like, several times this year, Seti got up from his bed on the main floor where the whole family was, the cat, the 2 dogs, me and Natalie, and he went downstairs and stayed there the rest of the game because he could not handle the stress. He went downstairs. He was like, I'm out of here. I can't.
Too much loud noise.
Too much loud noise.
Oh.
Now, right off the jump,
Can we do the screenshot of the Matthews point?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Do it.
I got it up on the screen here. Matthews in the middle of the zone here. Brody's got the puck at the top of the blue line, and Matthews has his stick pointed to where he's about to go to receive the one-timer. So he's telling him, hey, I'm going to this spot. And it's so subtle. Like, none of the Tampa players are watching Matthews do this.
Unforgivable amount of puck watching.
Oh, yeah. They make eye contact, Brody and Matthews. Matthews goes over to his spot. He sends the pass into one-timer. It's absolutely majestic hockey skill that Matthews is displaying there.
Now, part of the reason they probably let Matthews go here, his back is like he's not set up for a fucking shot at all. He just spins and fires a dart, an absolute dart at top speed, like 86 miles an hour or whatever it was, like spinning into it.
Yeah.
Like these two freeze frames where it's
crazy.
Like he's facing the puck and then he's turned around taking a one-timer.
Like,
it's insane.
An all-world accurate one-timer against the best goalie in the world, I'll still argue.
I would still say that for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely still the best goalie in the world. Right off the jump in the second. Or did you want to say more about it, Jess?
No, we're good.
We're good. That sequence was unbelievable. Right off the jump and going into the third. So, Steve, you mentioned this in your LFR, and I want to talk about it in a second. Sportsnet stats, and who are just literally trolling Leaf fans at this point. And they're having the best time, you can tell. This marks the 4th time since 2013 that the Leafs have led a potential series-clinching game in the third period. Now, Steve, how do you feel? Like, what were your thoughts, your feelings going into it?
Going into it, I was more optimistic that this is the year that things turn out a little different. And the first 4 minutes or so of the third period, I'm like, yeah, this is bad. Because the Leafs were so much more Tampa's equal in the first 40 minutes of this game than they were in other games in this series. They didn't let Tampa dictate the play. They were breaking up plays. Tampa attacks. They take it off them, counterattack, and they just stopped. They didn't do it. You could tell they were trying to resist the urge.
Yeah.
But every instinct they had was to revert to defense. Mm-hmm. And they immediately went from playing to win to playing not to lose. And they lose Steven Stamkos and he ties it.
Crazy. Now, that's 5 minutes in. And Killorn, who's been a Killthorn in the Leaf size most of the series. I think what's been interesting about him is his speed, right?
His size.
Yeah, he kind of, you realize again that the Leafs are not. They used to be a fast skating team. They're really not necessarily anymore.
They got they got
They
guys.
have pace, but it's not like
it's
you know
not-
when
it's
you
not the
see
same.
Easmont and Killorn and stuff like that. You're kind of like, okay,
Hagel.
that speed.
Sorelli,
Yeah.
Point, yeah.
Now Matthews gets a really close look at the goal-ahead goal about 8 minutes in. Nylander kind of starts the play with the steal, and he's starting at because the thing that I think everybody was thinking was like we need playoff Willie Nylander, right? Because he's always good in the playoffs, and it starts with him doing what he does best, which is a neutral zone steal.
He's so good at it, man. He's so good at it. He's so good at it. I mean, you talk about the identity of this team. It's something they just don't get enough credit for is their neutral zone thievery, and they're one of the best. They have to be one of the best stick lifting teams in the entire league.
Takeaway
Have to be.
which is again automatic penalty in NHL 23.
It is if you're Mike Stevens. It's not in real life.
The shit you give Mike Stevens on this show
Because he needs to fucking stop. Actually, you know what? So Mikey's in his Chell renaissance.
Is he?
Because he randomly was just like, I'm going to try defense. And he's sick.
Oh, amazing!
He's just sick.
Oh, good.
But it made it so that now when he plays forward, he's good at that too.
Oh, so
Yeah.
he's just better.
He's just better.
Wow. Jesse's looking up the takeaway stats right now. What do we got?
Mitch Marner led the league in takeaways.
Wow.
Amongst the top 1, 2,
Regular
3
season or-
regular season?
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11th place, William Nylander. 12th place, right behind him, Austin Matthews.
Wow.
So in the top 12 in takeaways this year, you got 3 Toronto Maple Leafs.
They're thieves.
So here's the thing about, and I know this is the wrong time to talk awards because they've already been voted on and who cares, but you know, when people say, "Oh, it's ridiculous that Mitch Marner would ever be considered in the Selke voting," I mean, your tops in takeaways, he kills penalties, he's their best penalty killer. I'm not saying he needs to win it, but he should be a guy that top 5.
He doesn't play center.
he should be in there. Well, and
doesn't think
Matthews.
so.
Yeri Lettinen didn't either, and he was spectacular.
Yeah, Matthews, he was the last winger, I think, to win the Selke. Matthews, him not killing penalties hurts, but I was talking about it during the stream, and sometimes you say something out loud not realizing, like, oh, I'm spitting facts right now. Like, Matthews had 40 goals and led the league in blocks and was bad, ? And he had a bad season? Like, any other player, we're talking about they should probably be involved in the Selke conversation. Like, how different was Matthews' season this year in a down season to Elias Lindholm's last year? Dude was runner-up for the Selke.
Yeah.
The difference has to be penalty killing. I don't even know if Lindholm killed them. I
think part of it too is so much of the voting comes down to perception of a player, like reputational stuff, rather than the actual play. And that's just human nature.
These guys watch a lot of hockey. They don't have time to watch it all.
Exactly. So I'm not mad at the voters.
Neither do
like
I.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of like when they do the player votes, and you always do the most underrated player vote, and every year it's Sasha Barkov. It's like eventually we can't vote him for 10 years in a row that he's underrated.
It was Louis Eriksson for like half a decade.
Yeah. And they
it's
just
like-
and then
And
for
Jim Benning believed it.
He did. He sure
He
shit did.
really believed it. Now, last minute of the third period, ref does not call despite looking at a TJ Brody definite high stick that made contact with Brandon Hagel's face.
No argument.
There is if you're a Leaf fan, that's a break. If you're a Lightning fan, you're furious. And neither side can be blamed for the reactions to this. This is 100% a penalty call. But what I thought was interesting afterwards is I believe Hagel on the replay calls them. He was yelling at the refs from the bench.
We got it here.
Oh, you got it here? Can we run that?
Tic Tac Tomar was spectacular in the first.
Can we run this little GIF?
I don't know.
I don't think
I don't
so.
think we can
It's
because
from
it's
the
Sportsnet.
broadcast,
But I
right?
think he calls them all. It says you're worthless, all of you.
We got it up. We got it up. If you want to just pull up the tweet, Maddie, it's you guys are a fucking bunch of bums, all of you.
And I don't blame him.
Tampa,
I don't blame 'em.
dude, it's like a roster of 20 Michael Buntings, and they don't have the reputation for it. And like, I have nothing but respect for these guys. Like, I'll gush about them as soon as we're done talking about the overtime winner. But for the life of me, I don't understand how they don't have a reputation.
So I
after
100%
watching
do.
that
I get it.
series.
I
I'm
know why.
confused on a player doing this. He's calling the refs a bunch of fucking bums.
And
all
I
of you.
understand the sentiment.
Yeah.
I get it.
He's right, because that was a blown call.
He is not incorrect.
Are you not allowed to do that? Like, is that not against like some code of conduct? Like, are you allowed to just call the refs a bunch of fucking bums with no repercussions?
I said this last year, Game 6 against Colorado, Maroon less so, Stamkos definitely, should have been suspended for their conduct. Stamkos shot a puck at a ref. I don't care if he did it by accident or not.
Accidentally.
Shut up. No, he didn't. He meant to do that shit.
Yeah, he did.
It was a red miss moment, and he apologized immediately. He shot a puck at a ref. But it's Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like, has anyone ever been suspended for a hit in a Stanley Cup deciding game? I'm trying to remember if Steve Bernier was in 2012. But, like, these guys do come undone at the officials. But when the game... Can you fucking imagine if Brandon Hagel got like an unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, for like abuse of an official.
Abuse of an official, and the Leafs start overtime with a power play. That building wouldn't be there this morning.
No.
I'm telling you, though, here's why they can do it.
Yeah.
It's because they have more than one guy doing it. If you attack
Whole team.
if you have the whole team attacking the ref by committee,
You can't throw at everybody.
exactly. But the Leafs have one guy, so it's pretty easy to ISO him. And let's be honest, Toronto's a bit of a different spotlight market, right? Players that are okay here are better than okay. Players that are bad here are the worst player that's ever played in the NHL. You've never seen anyone play worse.
Now, to the credit of the leadership within the Leafs organization and that roster, and to Mitch himself, someone definitely got in Mitch's ear this season because he was doing that shit too, and he cut it down big time. A lot of side eye, and you can always tell when he's mad about a non-call, and it's always a non-call. But he cut back.
There's a time this summer when the season's over for the Leafs for like a Mitch retrospective this year, because he's a completely different person from game 1 to 82. Like that point streak he had, and just the attitude from when they had that awful California road trip.
Yep.
And we were on the verge of saying, like, can Mitch play here, to who he is now, where it seems like nothing can really faze him and he shows up in every single moment. Like, the dude's a completely different player, and like, all kudos to him.
The mental kettlebell that was lifted from some of these guys. Like,
Mitch, by the way,
I'm
is
so excited to see them in the second round.
second in scoring in the NHL right now.
Who passed him?
Tied with Leon and Rupe Hintz.
Yeah, Rupe's had been unreal.
Yeah, Rupe's been fucking crazy. We will talk about that series. Now, CJ, and I highly, highly, highly encourage you to read CJ's article, which he filed right after the game yesterday.
No one's better.
But it's like it's like you were there. He brings you right into not only what happened in the game, not just what the stakes were, but what happened after everything, and we're going to get to it. But one thing he wrote, he said they were in an identical position nearly a year ago, one shot away from eliminating the Lightning in Game 6 of overtime on this very ice surface, and they were in the exact same spot against the Montreal Canadiens 2 years back. Now, Leafs come out strong in the overtime, and stronger than we'd seen them 5-on-5 in a while. Yep. Pierre LeBrun actually tweeted right before it. He's like, this feels like one of those triple overtime nights. And I'm like, Pierre,
don't you dare.
I can't.
How many shots were there?
I don't know.
1-1.
Well, with 5 minutes to go in the first period, 5 minutes into the first period, John Tavares spins. It looks like he's going backhand. He goes forehand.
Oh, it starts so far before that.
Well, I wanted to say that because I want to go back to how this could have gone bad. Tell us how it could have gone real bad.
Him and Luke Shen have some sort of kerfuffle, some sort of miscommunication, and Tavares almost fucks it up so bad. And we're talking about hatred for a captain that we haven't seen since Game 4 of 2013 against the Bruins. Remember, Dion goes for that hit? Mm-hmm. He goes for that hit at the offensive blue line, leaves Ryan O'Byrne all by himself, and the Bruins finish Game 4 in Toronto. Tavares, Jesse's got it playing. Obviously, we can't show it, but it's just a reminder for me.
Mm-hmm. So let's walk through it.
He's got a Tampa player hounding him, right-handed Tampa player. I'm not sure who it is. And Luke Shen is posted up where he's supposed to be posted up at the right point. But he backs off because if they get picked off, they're fucked. Now, this is where the Leafs have been bitten a few times. Riley's been bitten this way. Brody's been bitten this way. And Luke Schenn said, I'm not about that life. I am leaving. And for some reason, the other attacking Tampa player doesn't go after it. It's Stamkos. Oh, my God. Tavares shovels it into the corner. And if you ISO on Matthew Knies, look at the work he's doing on Sergachev. Look at the body position work, fighting for it, gets to the puck first, bodies him off of that. That's a kid, like, has he reached double-digit games in the NHL? Tavares gets it back out in front, and he knows he's running out of options and he's just got to fucking do something, try to make something happen. Knies is in front. Riley jumps up in front because Mitch is covering for him. He fires it on, and had that not hit Radish's foot, there would have been 2 Leafs right there. It's a beautiful team play, but it's a magical effort from John Tavares.
And it goes off Radish and in. Now, Jess, sorry, were you going to say something, Jess?
Yeah, not to criticize Stamkos too much. Tavares just got to the puck quicker. Stamkos goes for it.
But Stamkos, he's got to make a decision. He's got to make it like he should have already been going there.
He as soon as the puck goes to the corner, because he expects Luke Schenn to be there, right? So he turns, nobody's there. He heads towards the puck, and then Tavares just gets there quicker, and he goes and plays defense.
Yeah, no, but Luke Schenn backs off. Luke Schenn backs off because he thinks Stamkos is about to attack.
Yeah, but Stamkos is looking at the puck. He goes there. He thinks Schenn's there, and Tavares beats him there.
Oh.
I don't think Stamkos made a bad play in that situation. He just got beat.
He could have read it quicker. That doesn't mean it's a bad play.
Yeah. You're asking him to do something superhuman and have eyes on the side of his head.
Yeah.
He's a captain. That's what Tavares did something. Listen, we got a performance here on both goals that we didn't deserve. Except we did. That's what the money's for.
Exactly.
Matthews said, fuck you, we're winning. And they scored. Tavares said, fuck you, we're winning. And they scored.
Yeah. And the credit there needs to be given to John Tavares on a great play.
Yeah.
100% his first shot.
Now,
unreal.
First shot of the game.
He did this with the Islanders, too, back in 2016 to break their streak of first and outs in OT in Game 6 then as well.
Against the Panthers.
I want a note from David Alter. Chris Cuthbert was on the call for both of them.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so Morgan Riley showed Sheldon Keefe after the game that, and we can't run the footage, unfortunately, that he basically, he said, Sheldon's watching from the bench, and he goes, go fucking forehand.
And he does.
And John Tavares does, and it's amazing. Now, this is a screen grab, so we can show this. Look at the jump on former NHLer Sheldon Keefe. Look at the fucking height that man gets.
He jumps off of the bench, and he lands like... every time I watch these pile-ups after an OT winner, I'm like, how doesn't everyone get hurt?
That man is in dress shoes. He's in tight suit pants.
Oh, yeah.
And he lands on a bench that's less than a foot wide.
Yeah, what was he standing on?
They stand on a bench behind him.
Yeah, so just there's a little bench.
Just another
back
bench.
there. Yeah, he was
Bench.
just up on it. Yeah. And he fucking lands back down on it.
So he goes ballistic, but and obviously the coaches didn't go on the ice before the players did. Who was the last player off the bench?
Austin Matthews.
Austin fucking Matthews.
Now I want
he's looking up, hands extended, like, oh my fucking god, like he can't believe it.
I wanted Martina Ortiz-Luis, former Anthem singer, was in Maple Leaf Square last night,
and now like the biggest thing ever. She's in
she's doing great.
Show with Christoph Waltz. Unbelievable.
But I want to show you this is her view of the goal going in with Tavares. This is what Maple Leaf Square looks like. Nobody gets taken out, by the way, like that poor girl with the red hat. Oh my god!
You want some sound on this?
Yeah, I can do it.
All right.
There's probably
There we go.
That gives you goosebumps.
Disappears into the night.
I got to experience that one day. I haven't experienced a Leafs win in Maple Leaf Square.
I want to also show you this.
You're
2013
gonna celebrate
loss.
the cup from your basement.
I'm telling you right
No, they
now.
got to move the studio down there. Come on. Tim and Sid did
begging
it.
for it. Why aren't you doing the games live from the square?
Because it's first round.
It's like, why is Joe Bowen not flying on the airplane?
Keep cool, my babies.
All right. So,
all right.
Let's get there.
So I also want you to show this, Jesse. I just fired this up. Austin Matthews was, Steve mentioned, the last guy off the bench to celebrate because he was just so excited. But I want you to see this video. This is after the game in the hallway, and the person he's walking towards is Jake Muzzin.
Aw.
Big hug. Big hug with Jake Muzzin. Very
He's
excited.
been around the team the whole time.
Yep. And then I want to show you this. This is cell phone footage of Wayne Simmons in the box when the goal goes in.
I'd love to know who even took this.
I want to know this too. I don't
It's
understand.
like
Yeah.
from the Leafs box. Unless it's someone reaching their phone over from the next box over. Yeah, this is what we were talking about earlier. Simmons with Aston Reese and Hall.
Mm-hmm. There we go. So watch
It's
this.
from Luke Fox.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, he would have had a good vantage point, wouldn't he? Spin, fires.
Look at Wayne. Big hug.
Look at Wayner.
So for people listening,
That's passion.
it's Luke Fox in the press box recording Wayne Simmons giving a big hug
Now,
with Czar.
I also want to show you this because Audie James met Anakin Skywalker at Calgary Comic-Con this weekend. He met
Hayden
Hayden Christensen. But Hayden Christensen is a huge Leaf fan. So I just sent you the clip, Jesse. It's from TikTok. This is Hayden Christensen on stage in front of people finding out that the Leafs won the game in overtime because he is a lifelong fan. He's actually wearing a Maple Leafs hat in the video. Have a look. Anakin Skywalker, big Leafs guy.
What's the sound?
Yeah, let's do it.
Leafs won?
Oh, nice.
That's Darth friggin' Vader, baby.
Yeah, and I think it's fitting that Darth Vader likes the Leafs.
Thank you for that, whoever said that.
The Death Star, baby.
This is going to become a party right now. We're just having a good time.
In Calgary.
We were prepared for the other way. There's a really sad moment. Remember when
Yeah, pretty cool. Then I want to show you this, and I'm sorry to keep doing this, Jesse, but I want to show you Young and Dundas last night. People just going absolutely berserk. When Canada wins the gold medal in hockey, this is where people in Toronto head. And when the Leafs get their first second-round appearance in 19 years, this is where people head. This is where they go.
Usher's Yeah was number one.
Yeah,
last
YouTube wasn't
time.
created for another year.
Nope. 10 months later.
No Facebook. It's kind of a crazy time. We were all on MSN Messenger. What did Steve Status say, I wonder, the last time?
Probably Usher lyrics.
Yeah. That was a big album. Confessions was
big
huge.
album.
Here we go. So this is Young Dundas Square. People going berserk.
Oh, this is tame.
Well,
For a first round
for
victory.
a first round victory, that's not tame. That's crazy.
The cars can still go through.
Oh, fair enough. Fair
Everybody's
enough.
obeying the traffic signal.
A key factor
Canadian.
here. I think a key factor that people are forgetting, like, God, why was the party so big? It's Saturday night.
Yeah.
It landed perfectly. I guarantee you it's not like this on a Tuesday.
I was there for the Raptors when the night they
Yeah.
won. We turned over some fucking TTC buses. Like,
Yeah,
it was
man.
fucking intense.
Dude, there was at the parade, this lady got mad at the people in the crowd because she couldn't get through. It was a wall of people you actually couldn't walk through. And she's like, I'm gonna be late for my train. And the crowd just burst out laughing. Because they're like,
Who cares?
where do you think you are
you
right
have
now?
no idea.
You're in the middle of a championship parade. Sorry. You're
not moving.
You're gonna be late. Like,
So before we get
your
into what
boss
it
is a dick for making you work today.
before we get into what it was like sort of in the Leafs dressing room last night, you know, for anybody that's, you know, on Twitter, if you think that saying, the Leafs celebrating like they won the Stanley Cup, Leaf fans, like, you don't know shit, whatever, you like, it's not the diss that you think it is. It's actually, it just shows that you really don't know and haven't really been paying attention to the sport.
It also shows you can give it, but you can't take it. You don't get to shit on the Leafs at every opportunity for nearly 2 fucking decades and then take away our moment once we finally get it.
Well,
Eat shit.
And the thing
Looks
is
good on you.
And then the thing is that they can't, though. That's the thing. It's not a dunk. It's just sort of like, okay, so you don't get emotion and you don't get.
You're not going to talk your way into the Leafs losing last night.
There you go.
Fuck off.
Now, I loved some of these stories. From CJ's article for North Star. Riley, sporting 2 blackened eyes after delivering his best playoff series of his career, embraced head equipment manager Bobby Hastings. Bobby is a very nice guy, by the way. There stood the organization's longest tenured player and one of its few employees still operating in the trenches who was around when the Leafs advanced to the second round in April 2004, sharing a few words of all that they endured together.
Bobby Hastings was around in 2004?
Yeah.
Man,
Bobby
he's
Hastings
not
has a
even old.
baby face.
Wow.
Yeah.
He looks like a young man.
Yeah, he looks 27.
Yeah.
It's kind of not fair.
That's unbelievable.
And I like how every season we get the viral moment of him holding the sticks. Doing his little finger thing on the sticks.
Every season he gets an assist.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
gets at least one.
He does. Sheldon
that
Keefe
guy.
said, we've been talking about it feeling different with our team, but feeling different doesn't help us. It has to be different. And so this is what CJ said kind of was different. I want to run through all these with you guys, okay? This is what was different. Seeing Ilya Samsonov slam the door shut, by the way, I called him Ilya this time, and thank fans who waited 6,948 days since Joe Nieuwendyk went 5-hole twice on Patrick Lalime. Sorry, Sens fan. Seeing a light as air Mitch Marner bound to the visiting bench to greet a full-throated traveling contingent who refused to head into the night after an ear-piercing scream and fist pump. So Mitch Marner went over to a bunch of fans.
Love that.
Seeing the architect of this entire organization, Kyle Dubas, half-jokingly hail Keefe as the greatest coach in Toronto Marlies history.
Facts.
Seeing Ryan O'Reilly calmly slug back a beer in the hallway while dissecting the finer points of Game 6. This is like you're there, right? This is why I love CJ's writing so much. Seeing Luke Shen carry a massive ice pack to the side room where his teammates loudly soaked in their victory. Seeing Rich Rottenberg, the Leafs director of high performance, stop by Tavares' locker to share a moment with the last player left taking off his gear. Seeing William Nylander, wearing only a towel, rub the bald head of massage therapist Todd Bean, while exclaiming, "Beaner's been my favorite." Seeing Director of Team Services Brad Lynn walking around in a state of belief while trying to process what just happened. Matthew said, "I've been here 7 years. Mitchie, Willie, Mo's been here for 10. Johnny's been here for 5 or 6. And just to get over that hump is obviously huge mentally for us. But we don't want to look back now. We want to keep putting our foot on the gas and pressing forward." And immediately following the game yesterday, he didn't even sound like he was celebrating when he talked to Kyle Bukauskas.
All business.
He's like, this is step 1 of 4.
Kyle
And
Lowry, it's a business trip.
before we get into some other stats and things like that, I want to talk about that because, one of the cruxes of Steve's LFR was the fact that this is a huge, huge deal for the Leafs, for Leafs Nation, and for any other team. It's a pretty normal thing.
Special moment, ordinary accomplishment. And I don't say that to diminish what the Leafs did, but in a way I am, because the Leafs haven't done this in 19 years. The Leafs specifically. 8 teams do this every friggin' year. Every year, it's a quarter of the National Hockey League advances to the second round. Do the math. Every year, now that there's 32 teams, it used to be a higher percentage. Every year, a quarter of the NHL makes it to the second round. What has plagued the Leafs, again, they know how to not lose. They were undefeated since Game 6 against Washington in 2017. They're undefeated in games where they were the only team who could be eliminated that night, which is insane considering they have lost all the winner-take-all games. But because that requires winning. You have to know how to win. You have to know how to take it. And this team, how else do you describe it other than a mental block? Like, listen, I've been doing a lot of thinking over the last 48 hours, or at least before the end of Game 6, because I try to put some thought into what I say into a microphone and camera, believe it or not. And I was trying to think of what I was going to say if they mess this up, because that was going to take some thinking. I knew if they were to go to 7 and then lose in 7, in the moment, I wouldn't be able to come up with anything other than sadness. So I'm like, okay, I got to do some pre-planning here.
You're pre-planning a loss.
Well,
like a blow-up.
It's all I've been accustomed to. It's all I've ever covered. And I'm trying to think of what haven't I said yet? What haven't I said yet about this team's futility?
And what glimmer of hope could you even offer at that point?
I couldn't offer a fucking thing other than surely if they bring it back next year, it'll be different because the team is good. And then I was thinking, well, no, you can't. That's a crazy person thing to do. You have to blow it up. How do you win a trade with any of the big guys? But Steve, the big guys all performed in the playoffs. Gives a fuck, they lost. Like, that would be the discussion. It could have been the discussion in less than a week. Mm-hmm. How do you justify bringing back the core, regardless of how well they played, if they couldn't get it done? Because they couldn't get it done in the big moment. And if you say, well, the guys around the edges failed them, that's all they fucking do is tinker around the edges. They kept the core together. If nothing you do around the edges works, that means you can't do it with that core group. They just take up too much. And you got to fire the guy who's been tinkering around the edges. That was all I could come up with if they weren't able to do it again. None of it would have looked good on paper. Trading JT or trading... Imagine trading Austin.
Well, you don't do that.
It would have been on the table.
Yeah, because if they can't re-sign him, you got to get something.
He asked for... How do you justify giving him $13 million? They fuck it up again.
13, 15, man.
How do you justify it? You're going to give them a bigger slice of the pie and they're going to get better? You couldn't justify going forward with any part of this team. That's what we're dealing with here. That's the weight of what was at stake last night. That's why this is so special. I meant it. I meant it, what I said last show. If they fuck this up again... CJ had a crazy stat in one of our group chats. The team leading a series 3-1 wins 92% of the time. If they fucked it up twice in the first round in 3 years, there's no coming back from that. Like all those, you look at Maple Leaf Square, it's almost like they had an age limit of 27 or something in order to be in there. Like all these young fans going nuts, going ballistic.
I've never seen this.
Not only have they not seen it, but what if that was taken away from them? How many would be back? How many people would be willing to sit through this again? So while winning a first round series is ordinary, what the Leafs had weighing on their shoulders was that albatross, that actual living dinosaur wrapped around their shoulders as they're casually trying to win a third straight game on the road against a team that's virtually unbeatable in their own building, who's been to the Stanley Cup final in 3 straight years.
I want you to think about something, guys. Just a quick thing. And I want to get Jesse's thoughts. But I just want you to think right now, 24 hours ago, the Leafs had not done this. This is the first day in 19 years where you can confidently say that is gone now. And that's a pretty crazy feeling. It's almost a little bit bewildering, not really sure what to think. I woke up this morning and Natalie rolls over and she's like, they did do that, right? Mm-hmm. They did win? Now it's Jesse.
Got into it, did you?
Jesse, how old were you the last time in 2004? How old were you?
12.
Yeah, elementary school.
You were 12?
Yeah.
Steve and I were 16.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive yet.
We were at the end of grade 10.
Yeah.
Jesse, when that goal goes in for you, as somebody who is, I mean, we're in the same bracket, but you know, you're
what are you talking about?
In terms of
not like 4.
I know, but like
the time.
you know, a 5-year age gap's a big deal, especially. So, like, what does that mean for you personally?
No, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it was more like a sigh of relief that we can finally move on. Because if you're not a Leafs fan, you don't know how tiring it is
You just
to
don't
hear
get
it all the fucking time haven't won a first round playoff season since 2004. Like, it's just all the time. That's all you hear is that they can't do this. And every single year we do this podcast, every single year you as a Leafs fan, you enter the season. That's the only thing that's going on. It's they have to win one round.
Such a big part of fandom and sport talk is trash talk. And we're just not even welcome to the table. What on earth can a Leaf fan say to anybody about anything?
Yeah.
That's all anybody ever talks about with this team is that they can't win a first round series. And when they finally did it last night, it's just like, we can fucking move on. Like, we did it. Like, guys, now we can set a bar that's actually normal for a sports franchise.
Yeah.
Like, our goal now can be like to win the championship, to go and maybe compete and try and do something in the Eastern Conference. Like, now we have an actual franchise that is competing with the rest of the league and not with this weird boogeyman that's been sitting there for 19 fucking years.
It's absolutely wild to me that the Leafs won. Well, first of all, that. But it's also wild to me that the Leafs won, and there are more games to be played in this round by other teams. When was the last time that happened? Like, even in 2004, it took 7 games against the Sens. When was the last time the Leafs won a series and had days off?
They did it in
now
6.
How far back do we have to go?
Right. And like, this is all kind of, we all thought it would go this way. Leafs in 6 was a very popular pick.
You had such a good point last show. You're like, hey, why is it all doom and gloom after Game 5? Didn't you call Leafs in 6?
Right. They had
predicted
to lose
them losing twice.
But we don't know what it is to get to this scenario. If this Leafs team didn't have those 19 years hanging over their head, Game 5 wouldn't have felt like Game 5.
No.
Going into Game 6 wouldn't have felt like this could be the end of the world. It would just be like, oh, this is a very good team. Let's just go back to Tampa and get it in Game 6.
And this is what other fans don't get.
Yeah, that's what the other fan bases don't understand. The psyche that went into every single game, every single playoff game for the last 19 years that they were in, because everything had this giant weight on top of it, and now it's not there, and now it just feels like, okay, we can go ahead with this franchise, and it's awesome. So it's a great feeling of relief.
I have a ridiculous stat for this is how ridiculous it was that the Leafs were able to pull this off from Kevin Papetti, who just fucking rules. The Tampa Bay Lightning were 28-8-5 at home this season. Previous seasons, 27-8-6, 21-7-0, 22-10-2, 32-7-2, 29-10-2. The Leafs took all 3 games at Amalie Arena. What on God's green earth?
But even like those stats, like, oh, Tampa's a great team and stuff, but like, our perspective going into this should have been, hey, we're looking at a 4 seed versus 6 seed. Tampa's played more games than any hockey team on earth in the last 3 years. They went to 3 Stanley Cup finals in a condensed 3 years because of COVID. Like, they've played so many games. They're wounded. Like, half their team looks injured.
They won 2 Stanley Cups in like
a year
9
and a
months.
half?
Like,
not even
And
no
Cernak either, right? He didn't even play after Bunting hit him, I don't think. So.
Right. And the roster's been turned over so much, except for the stars, obviously. But like, the third line that dominated isn't there anymore.
Gaudreau, Coleman.
The Leafs were the favorite going in. They did what they should have done, and yet all these things didn't feel like that.
Well, and you know what the thing is that I think that weight made fans, at least, and I can't say whether or not the team did or not, but we acted like underdogs.
Yeah,
always. We acted like underdogs. We've been doing that for 7 years,
and now we cannot.
Yeah.
Now next year, if they're a fucking 2 or 3 or 4 seed, we can just go into the series and be like, they're the favorite to win. Maybe Leafs in 5, Leafs in 6, and it's reasonable.
Yeah. Here's something that's going to help the Leafs and the fan base. All those videos I watched videos of fans reacting to the OT winner like it was oxygen this morning and last night. You know what I noticed? You know what the common theme was before the happy freakout? Absolutely not a single one of them was enjoying themselves. No. None of them.
No.
They were all on the verge of cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
We were watching your stream. Natalie and I didn't talk in the third period.
Yeah. And now there's the possibility, like, again, if you're not a Leaf fan, you just can't understand this fucking awful feeling of you might actually be able to watch a Leaf game and enjoy it from now on.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think Scotiabank Arena is so quiet? And why are the pops so loud? Because we're sitting there waiting for something bad to happen at all times.
We
And
saw
then
that
when
in Game
something
5.
good happens,
Oh, yeah.
we freak out.
Yeah.
We absolutely lose our minds because none of us were expecting. Why would anything good happen? That's not how we think. It's just not how we think.
There's a lot of like, this stupid team actually did it. Like, this impossible thing happened, and it's just a first round victory.
Like,
but it's impossible.
You know who lost last night? Therapists. Therapists across Ontario lost millions
Your
of dollars.
therapist, especially.
My therapist, especially.
Millions
No,
of dollars down the drain now. You're fixed.
I think it'd be fascinating for them to examine my brain now that they've won.
Yeah, you're fixed. That's
No,
cool.
no, you still have a lot of issues. Like, it's, like,
So, Jesse, I want you to throw this stat up on the screen from Kevin Papetti, who is good with stats. I thought this was a key factor in the series that really not a lot of people talked about. At 5-on-5, Nikita Kucherov, 0 goals, 2 assists, and a 47.4 expected goal for.
he didn't look right.
Braden Point, 0 goals, 2 assists, a 48.5 expected goals for. No primary points. No primary points. That McCabe-Brody pair had a tough job, and they did it well. And I gotta say, when McCabe sort of first entered the Leafs lineup, you could tell there were things in his game that were very not Leaf.
Yeah.
In terms of what he did with the puck and how, the Leafs love their drop back passes and they love to retain possession and restart the play and all the other things. McCabe, you could really see it in this series, started to get into that and then started to throw body blows. Nobody has hit like that guy on this team since Dion Phaneuf. And I say that, people going, Dion, pile on, blah. Dion used to fucking crush people's bones.
He ended a guy's career with a hit that didn't even get a penalty.
I haven't seen open ice like this. Open ice hits like this since Dion, and then before that since Luke Shen, and then before that, I don't know, Brian McCabe. He's
I guess.
He has been
Markov, sort of.
the fact that Braden Point, listen, Kucherov, maybe he was injured. Point, maybe he was injured. The fact that both of them have expected goals, expected by whom? Under 50%, and Point has no primary points in the entire series. That's wild.
The only forward over the last 3 years, I think you can argue was better than Point is maybe his line mate in Kucherov. And outside of the Lightning, McKinnon? Mm-hmm. I get that's a top 3 playoff player in the world.
Oh, you mean like in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Or are you just leaving off Connor McDavid for fun?
No. That's a top 3 playoff player in the world over the last 3 years and just completely ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
There's...
I think
like
outside of Morgan Riley, McCabe was the best defenseman for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this series. And Morgan Riley's got to be number
TJ
one.
Brody,
but
not TJ?
No,
TJ had some tough games.
Yeah.
Out of the two, I thought Brody let McCabe be himself last night.
You let him cook.
He let him cook. There were a few moments, though, where McCabe's speed wobbled and Brody got it under control. There is the very legitimate argument that TJ Brody was the best player on the ice out of anybody last night.
Yeah.
He was absolutely spectacular. I couldn't say enough good things about
But
him.
I thought there was shaky games 2 and 3, I thought it was from Brody.
Game 2 they won 7-2.
So
I might have missed it.
Yeah, but
He had a couple
McCabe was
games where he
great.
didn't look himself.
McCabe was great. Outside of Morgan Riley, that line was absolutely fantastic. They're 2A and 2B.
Mitch Marner. Also, let's just read Petty's whole fucking timeline. In 6 games, Marner had 2 goals, 9 assists for 11 points. The Leafs won his 5-on-5 minutes 8-1. Without him, they lost 6-14.
Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Wow.
62.8 expected goals percentage. Without him, the Leafs had a 42.6 expected goals percentage.
Those numbers are like a reverse Justin Hall.
I mean,
I don't think they played together much.
A little bit.
Is what I'm gathering from that.
Sportsnet stats, the last 5 series clinching OT goals in Leafs history. John Tavares yesterday. Gary Volk, second round, game 6, Penguins, 1999.
Series clinching, right?
Series clinching.
wild.
I remember that Gary Volk thing, and I went to that series.
No way.
I saw Game 5, and Sylvain Cote, I'll never forget, scored the opening goal. My mom's from
brought it
Pittsburgh.
up.
That's why we got to go.
You've had your season seats for that long.
That long, yeah, that's right. But I remember that Yager got completely shut down by Markov and Yuskevich.
Wow.
And he got really pissed off at the end of the game. And I remember he slammed his stick against the glass as he got a penalty in the third period, and the entire arena just pointed and laughed. Like, I've never seen an entire arena go, ah! It was crazy. Then before that, Nikolai Borchevsky, Game 7, Round 1 versus the definitely supposed to win the Stanley Cup this year, Red Wings in 1993.
Wow.
Before that, Lanny McDonald, Game 7, Islanders, 1978.
Holy shit!
And the first ever in history, 1951, Game 5, Leafs Canadians, Bill Barocco. Stanley Cup winning goal.
Bill Barilko in
Stanley
the
Cup,
50s was the fifth most recent OT winner to clinch a series.
For the Leafs, yes.
1951. A full adult before the moon landing.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's a very specific scenario, Steve.
OT clinch. I can tell you, though, I bet the Canadians have a lot more.
Yes.
And Detroit has a lot more.
They had a chance last year. They had a chance fucking 2021. They had a chance in 2013.
Mm-hmm. Amongst all the players on the Leafs, I think I'm most happy that John Tavares over there, that we have a little stuffed doll, is the one that joins that list.
Why?
Because John Tavares is so underrated as a captain for this team. He's been such a steady force, and him coming over with that contract and having the injury versus Montreal, like, he's had such a winding path to reach that moment. It feels like this guy deserves this, and he deserves to be vaulted into that category of great Leafs captains. And this is kind of the first step into that moment, because it's been so long for the stupid franchise. They haven't won shit with him. And the fact that he gets this goal and now we get to move forward, I hope this is the beginning of like a great JT era as captain of Toronto Maple Leafs.
The other thing I'd say to that is, there was a narrative last year that he was washed. People were like, oh, he stinks and whatever, and completely ignoring the fact that the Corey Perry knee to the head thing.
He was coming off of 3 injuries.
Yeah, and I, by the way, I don't think the Corey Perry thing was on purpose, but what I did love is Cam Charron reminded me of something I lost my mind on. And it was that as soon as that Tavares injury happened, they were worried, like the people on TV were like, I hope Corey Perry's knee's okay.
Okay, so I saw people saying that.
That absolutely happened.
I had no idea.
I talked about it on the show. I remember bringing it up.
You were streaming.
Yeah.
So
that was your first game streaming.
Dude, it was one of the hardest nights of my
So that was the first game you ever did watch a game with Steve Dangle was that fucking game against Montreal.
Like 9 minutes into my first stream. And I could, you know how I feel the eyes of Leafs Nation watching me when I do my thing? It was at that moment I felt all the... I haven't felt like this since you and I hosted the morning show after Kawhi got traded to the Raptors. Mm-hmm. I could just feel everyone in that building.
What are these two idiots going to do?
Well, what are these two idiots going to do? But this one, I didn't... I just felt like it was like, what the fuck is Steve going to do? He's got a tap dance for like 20 minutes.
And that's right. It took forever. He was on the and it was and the pictures, the video was off,
and you could hear everything because no one was in the building. You could hear absolutely every dude is bone chilling.
Yeah. So for him to do this,
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Jesse.
Yeah, with all those moments that JC had as a Leaf, like I feel like Austin's gonna get his and has had his as a Hart Trophy winner. Like he's cemented in Leafs legacy every for the rest.
What is he,
of time.
third in total goals already?
Mitch is gonna put up so many points that his name's got to go in the rafters. Is gonna be undeniable. But JT, I feel like he needs his moment here, and
that's a moment.
This is a moment. Like put it on the box, and he's gonna have so much more of it. And this is kind of the first step. And for me, I was like, that's so cool for John Tavares to have that moment.
And a hat trick earlier this year or this series too.
Right? Yeah.
Dude.
Came up huge.
But I look at those banners, and I see Clark, and I see Gilmore, and I see Sundin, and I see Sittler.
And Salming. McDonald,
and I go, fuck, I wish they won.
I agree.
I wish they had a chance to win here. Mm-hmm. Like, you think any names are getting sent to the rafter? Like, you can't... When it's all said and done, you can't not send Austin to the rafters.
It's done? Like, already?
No, wait.
Okay.
But if they didn't win, like, let's say they lose this series.
Oh, God.
It hangs over the fan base like an anvil.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no way.
You can't, but you have to statistically, but also it's just a monument to how shit this franchise
That's
has been.
embarrassing.
Yes, it is. Right? Like, I don't know what you do. And again,
We don't have to live in that reality
Anymore.
I hate when you bring it up because we don't have to live that.
Dude, I've been alone for the last 48 hours just thinking about this shit.
Yeah.
And
That's no longer.
And it's no longer there. No, but this is... I'm talking about all the things it could have been, which makes what it is so much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
I want to alert you guys to a quote from late in the season that I think is telling. This is where we were.
I'm going to savor this.
Do you know this one? Do you know where I'm going with this?
You know I do.
The Leafs.
I've never had a steak this good.
The Leafs, if you remember, had an issue because they had to keep calling up emergency goaltenders because they signed Matt Nyes and ran out of cap space. And the NHL wouldn't allow them to bring up Wool because that's not an emergency. If you signed Matt Nyes, that's not an emergency, guys.
You can't light your own house on fire and claim the insurance.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
Which I've never understood.
Emergency, yeah, come on, what the hell? Emergency backup goalie Jet Alexander played 71 seconds in a game against Montreal.
Let's go.
And the Canadiens media and Canadiens players lost their minds because how dare a person who grew up in Toronto be excited about playing 71 seconds in the NHL, getting a jersey with his name on it, and frankly, getting an NHL paycheck, which is pretty sweet, even at the bare minimum. What, you make like $2,000-3,000 to do that? It's great. And beyond that, the Canadiens were never in this game. Most of them were from Laval. And I think what was the game? 7-1, 6-2, something like it was just
a huge win.
Huge win. Chris Weidman, who is probably best known outside of this for being one of the guys caught on footage in the Uber shit-talking his coach in Ottawa with Matt Duchene.
And, asterisk, fuck that Uber driver.
Yeah, that's such a bullshit thing. But that's probably what he's best... Yeah, he's one of the guys, like, he was in that cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fucking Uber driver. That sucks.
Fuck that guy.
They'll get... His quote after the game about the Toronto Maple Leafs was, they'll get what they deserve in a few weeks.
Oh.
And boy, did they.
Get absolutely, wholeheartedly, to the core of the fibers of your nervous system, fucking wrecked.
And
Say it into the camera. Camera 4.
Get fucking wrecked. Love it.
the Beaverton, which is like the Canadian Onion. This is their...
It's so good.
This is they're actually
funny.
really funny.
They're
really
hilarious.
funny. Their article this morning, hockey fans mourn the loss of their only joke. And
that's Philip Demas, who
does
listens
Philip
to the
write
show.
that? That was Philip that wrote it.
Yeah, I didn't know he wrote that.
Oh, shout out Philip.
Nearly 2 decades of variations of, quote, win around or, quote, other team in 7 are now lost to time as hockey fans across North America scramble to find originality for the first time in 19 years.
Woo!
While Toronto fans pour into the streets to celebrate, at least 31 other fan bases are now forced to go back to the drawing board. And the quote is, I mean, sure, we could go back to shouting 1967 every chance we get. But since most NHL players weren't even alive the last time a Canadian team won a cup, that one feels like it's lost its ring a little bit.
All right, who are we picking on? What franchise? Who's up next? Now that we're not the whipping boy.
Minnesota. Pack your shit.
No!
You've been picking on them for years.
I know.
Minnesota.
I'm joking.
Chuck Fletcher doesn't even work for them.
I'm joking. No. They don't.
That was great, Steve. How dare you?
Oh, man.
No.
All right.
No.
So
we just.
I'm sorry, Wild fans.
We don't even know how to like settle into the role of bullies. Like
that's funny. That's
good.
funny. Now,
2017 was a long fucking time ago, Pittsburgh. Where are you at?
That's good.
Yeah, no, we can't.
the last question remaining for Leaf fans is who are they going to play? And this is a thing we're just not used to having. 6:30 tonight, the Panthers and Bruins take each other on. It looked like Boston was going to win Game 6. Florida was up,
What a
and then
bananas
Boston scored a couple goals in the third, and they were up 5-4. Florida ties it, and boom! Oh my God! They win 7-5.
Who's even starting?
Okay, so here's I have that.
Okay, are we doing the series now?
We're gonna do that series now.
All right, let's fucking go.
We're gonna do that for series now.
Holy shit.
Well, we're
So-
not going to do another hour and a half. On
No,
the
no,
Leafs?
we're not gonna do a full game recap for them. But we do need to talk about because literally the game's in a few hours. There's no need.
Adam's lipstick is slowly turning purple because it's
Yeah. You look hot.
like Adam. It's not that you're wearing blue lipstick.
What is it?
It's that you fucking like do it in the bathroom.
You're
Like-
smudging it too. You got to stop touching your
am
face.
I?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Do you want me to kiss you again?
Yeah, dude.
Give me a big old smooch.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, Daddy.
Oh, there we go. This is what happens when the
It's
Leafs
fixed.
win.
So listen, tonight. So I guess at Maple Leaf Square, a bunch of people last night were saying we want the Panthers, because if you're a Leafs fan, your other boogeyman is the Boston Bruins.
A bunch of Leaf fans were saying Bruins too.
So let me know right now. I want to ask the panel, what do we think, Jesse Blake? Do you have a preference? If you don't, then that's fine.
I got a good friend. His name's Mr. Glynn. Steven. He goes
Gary.
by.
Oh, it's me.
It goes by usually. He said something great last night
Didn't I?
in the wee mornings of today. He said, I want the team that deserves to be in the second round. And the team that deserves to be in the second round is the team that pulls out Game 7. Let's not get choosy here, Leafs fans. Let's not try and say, oh, we want the Panthers, we want the Bruins. No, we want the team that earns the Game 7 victory. Who cares who they're going up against? It's Leafs in 4. We all know that. Panthers, Bruins, bring it on.
Let's go.
Okay,
Get your brooms.
I know the Bruins won 65 regular season games.
Fuck them.
First of all, fuck them. Second of all, do you want the Panthers if they beat the Bruins in 3 straight?
This
two
is my
of them
thing.
in Boston?
Yeah.
They look pretty good, man.
So
I don't think there's an easy option.
the
here.
Boston Bruins got a couple problems here. One, they got their own Justin Hall in Connor Clifton.
Oh,
Holy
really?
shit. Connor Clifton was scratched for 3 straight games because he's been dog shit. That's
so weird.
Matt Grizzlick was playing instead. Game 6.
Oh, okay.
Game 6, he's put back in. He's the responsible for the giveaway on the game-winning goal. In the third period, the game-tying goal, I believe it is, he's stuck behind the net, makes an awful play, at least the Panthers' goal.
I'm so looking forward to watching zero stakes hockey.
Oh,
tonight
yeah.
and tomorrow.
Two, the other issue is Linus Ullmark has been horrendous. Not once throughout the entire regular season has he started 6 games in a row. All of a sudden, the playoffs, they're like, okay, we're going to stop doing the thing that got us here in playing them 1-1-1, meaning Swayman and Ullmark playing
That's what
back
we
to back to
criticize
back.
Minnesota for.
Yeah, but this is different.
In a situation where your 1A goalie has been awful, maybe it's time to try the second goalie, but you've already reached the point where you've run with one guy until Game 7. There's no going back now.
So do you want to know the lineup? Because I have it.
It's Ullmark.
It's Swayman.
No way! Holy crap, he did it!
Matt Grizzlick will play with Charlie McAvoy on the first pair.
Yeah, they scratched Connor Clifton. There you go. That's the right move.
Holy shit!
That shocks me because the whole thing about Montgomery was like, I'm sticking with my guy, and then
The guy who would probably win the Vezina Trophy.
he's going to win the Vezina easily. But we have a situation here where this guy, I don't know if we're going to learn from this series in that when you have a tandem goalie, maybe they also excel because they're playing in a tandem. And that when you get to the playoffs and you start riding your tandem goalie all series long, they're not as effective.
There was a Vezina race. I want to say it was 2018 or something like that. And I can't remember who was involved. I can't remember who won. But it was like Robin Leonard, who only played like 40 games. Ben Bishop, I think, who only played like 40 games. It was 2 of the nominees played like half of the games. And then there was the dude who was very clearly his team starter and deserved it. That's the dude who ended up winning. Again, there's a reason I praise Vasilevsky, and there's a reason why I say like him and Hellebuck are and maybe Ottinger.
Throw UC Saros and Ilya Sorokin into that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
We got a good
but even
little...
Sorokin has Varlamov.
Yeah.
Like-
but he's so stellar when he's there. But then his situation, like,
It's so hard to be the guy all the time. And Allmark's never done that. Never. I can't remember how many games he played in his final season in Buffalo. Like it's a huge mantle.
And we forget that this is an absolute shocker that Allmark is going to win the Vezina this year. When he came over from Buffalo to Boston, wasn't great at all.
He was great in Buffalo.
He was great in Buffalo, and then when he came over from Boston, he wasn't good upon his arrival.
Yeah.
A little bit like Freddie Anderson when he signed with the
Yeah.
Leafs. Good in Anaheim, comes here, oh fuck, what have we done? And
Right.
then
He
found
settled
his
in.
way.
And going into this year, though, Swayman was the starter. Like, if you remember, like, our previews, he was the 1A. Allmark came out of nowhere. You picked him up on waivers, Steven.
I picked both of them up on waivers.
Like,
That's crazy.
this wasn't supposed to be the all-world goalie situation in Boston, and it really came out of nowhere with the entire team because they're on their last dance and everything. But I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's the tandem thing, but moving to Swayman, that's a bold move, and we'll see if it pays off.
I mean, maybe he's hurt.
I should have thrown this in there to the Leafs discussion, but the Leafs are the first team in NHL history to have 3 overtime road wins in a single playoff series. So there is a funny TikTok on the NHL TikTok, although we're not sure if we can use it or not, but the ref talking to Radko Gudas and saying, hey, man, you can't sit on other players.
Matty, bring up the screen.
The screen grab there, which, by the way, Leaf fans, if we end up playing Florida, Radko Gudas is going to be a factor, and
That series has been unhinged.
oh yeah, and the ref said,
yeah,
I don't like when you try to sit on people. That's literally what he's saying to him.
I'm trying to, for all the complaints we had about the officiating in the Leafs Lightning series, like, it's not even close to the series with the most controversial calls or non-calls.
Not even close.
Edmonton,
we'll get into some of them. But
Edmonton, LA was unhinged. Florida, Boston is completely unhinged.
Colorado, Seattle.
Kachuk and Allmark almost fought.
Yeah.
Because Allmark challenged Kachuk.
Yeah, to a fight, and then he got pulled, and Swayman had to go in with 30 seconds left or
All
what.
I'm saying, Jordan Binnington does that, we're dunking on him.
Yeah. But I think source matters. Source material matters.
It's like
Source
bunting in
material
the refs.
matters, but we just looked at that and went, yeah, it's Matthew Kachuk, I get it. But we didn't read enough into, I wonder if he's rattled.
One guy's playing really poorly, and now he wants to fight Matthew Kachuk.
And the other guy's playing extraordinary.
He's gonna drag those Panthers, man. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna be Matt Kachuk.
There's a Hart Trophy conversation to be had because Connor McDavid's going to win it unanimously. But who's number 2? Matthew Kachuk has a good argument for number 2 in voting.
I agree.
To be nominated? Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to take any of the postseason into account. It's a regular season award. That's why Allmark's going to win the Vezina. But Matthew Kachuk, if you took a little peek at the postseason while you're voting for the Hart Trophy in the regular season, good argument to be number 2 in the league.
What an animal.
Yeah,
What an
unreal
animal.
season.
Yeah. I mean, good on Paul Maurice, but I think Keith Kachuk is the coach of that team. He called him soft, and they were like, and like just turned
Was
into
it-
a complete different team.
Who is it? Bryson DeChambeau, who's holding up the pylon? Who called? Who do you call a pylon? Ekblad a pylon?
No, Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Koepka.
Oh, wow.
I forgot what golfer.
Brooks Koepka said that?
Yeah, from
He
the,
held
from,
up a pylon
from
in
the
a
suite.
box.
Yeah, you're a fucking pylon or whatever he's yelling.
And like, they're not friends. Like,
Wow.
Oh yeah, Ekblad was mad.
yeah.
They're not friends about it.
Wow.
Yeah, he was just a passionate fan, but also you're Brooks Koepka. You can't just be that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
Yeah.
fucking can.
But call a guy
Ekblad's
a
got to get over that.
pylon?
No,
A
Ekblad,
pylon.
you got to. So whatever, man. You think that like everybody? It's the age of social media. Everybody's been called everything.
Yeah, no,
If a pylon is the worst that you get called, Ekblad,
No, but-
get over
Where
it.
did he
Brooks
find it?
Koepka calling him a pylon is national news. Rando with numbers calling somebody a pylon on Twitter goes to 8 people. There's a difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't
There's
to
a
me,
difference.
Get over it, Ekblad.
Adam, has
Get over
anyone
it.
ever called you a jackass?
Every day?
Yeah. Did Barack Obama do it?
No, he didn't.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, but still, Ekblad, chill.
Yeah. I think lost in the whole Kanye conversation was, I think.
It's not that bad.
I think the president of the United States calling him a jackass on camera
That's intense. Yeah, it's intense.
might have alarmed him.
That's intense. So, anyway, long story short, it's going to be a very interesting game tonight. We don't want to say too much because by the time this episode comes out, the game's probably already started. So we'll see what happens. So Leafs win, and the attention immediately turns to Edmonton. Edmonton's in game 6. They've got even though they're not at home, the arena's sold out anyway. And they got 20,000 people outside or whatever. It's crazy the amount of people they fit into that zone. It's just unbelievable.
I think hockey's ready to take off in Canada.
Yeah. Connor McDavid scores a minute in. He scores. LA ties it up a little bit later, and then Klim Kostin scores to go up 2-1 in the first.
Name the guy traded for Klim Kostin. Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, no idea.
Awesome pickup by Ken Holland.
Yeah. Then in the second period,
The Blues.
Yep. No, but that's who they got him from.
Yeah, they got him from the Blues for... I don't know. A pick.
Something Samarikov.
Oh, yeah, when it was
God.
a guy? Yeah, okay. No.
Boo and also fart.
then the Oilers go on a power play in the second period. McDavid to Draisaitl, and immediately they're up 3-1. But 2.5 minutes later, Adrian Kempe pots one, so it's 3-2.
Enemy number 1, or at least in the top 3 in Edmonton.
Then
He's so good.
A minute later, Matthias Ekholm catches Phil Deneau with a high stick. And then Fiala scores on the power play off the post and in.
Gasp.
And we're tied. But then you've got, and so Kostin and Yamamoto they were all over it last night. Yamamoto directs a shot before Kostin buries it before the end of the period. Oilers up 3-2. Then in the third, Oilers get back on the power play somehow. But Steve, I'm going to ask you to say it. Oilers get back on the power play. This is the chance to really put the foot to the throat. But Stuart Skinner.
I would say if you're a goaltender, tend the goal. I would. But did you see the slow-mo replay close-up of the stick?
Yes, I did.
Fucking thing was broken.
And he didn't know.
I've never seen that.
Had a crack.
I've never seen a goalie not... I'm trying to think of the last time a goalie's stick broke and it wasn't their doing. Like, we've all seen goalies get mad after a goal and they slam their stick over the net. When was the last time? Oh, yeah, so-and-so broke their goalie stick.
They make them pretty tough.
No shit.
Yeah.
They're meant to stop pucks, and he goes to play it, and I was looking at it, I'm like, what flex is that goalie stick? And it turns out the thing was broken. And he had no idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, if he did know, he'd have to get rid of it. It's illegal to play the puck with a broken stick.
And that puck goes in, though.
It sure does. And boy, howdy if the Kings won that shit.
Crazy. But they didn't. The Oilers score again. Yamamoto scores with 3 minutes left. And it was sort of, when the Leafs got to about 3 to 5 minutes left in the game with Tampa, the announcers start to talk about, and then you start to talk about, I can't even actually tell who did first. I have both streams up. But one of you guys started saying, okay, it's next goal wins territory. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's what Yamamoto scored in the next goal wins territory. Overtime starts in the third period.
Listen, you get the go-ahead goal with 3 minutes left. You're not counting on the game going overtime. Put it that way.
Right.
You're counting on everyone playing the best defense of their entire friggin' lives.
So the Oilers are going to the second round, and they're going to play, it looks like, the Golden Knights.
Man, Eichel versus McDavid, their first playoff stint in the
That's
same
a really
year in
good
the
point. I
West.
didn't think about that.
Yeah, wow.
Awesome.
The Eichel McDavid series. One word on the Los Angeles Kings. They played a fantastic series, and they were really close to winning it. And a lot of it went really unnoticed that the Edmonton Oilers this season had the #1 power play in the history of the NHL.
In the history of the NHL?
History of the NHL.
Wow.
And this playoff series, the LA Kings did a great job by only taking 15 minor penalties. But on those 15 minor
6 games?
In those 15 minor penalties,
That's okay.
The Edmonton Oilers scored 9 times. Sometimes a team is so good that it's uncontrollable.
Yep.
And Jay Woodcroft figured something out accidentally by going with 11-7. He figured out that, hey, if we're 11-7, that means I can play Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl twice. And when you play them one time together and then another time on your fourth line, it's a little unbeatable in certain circumstances.
I kind of think 11-7 might be here to stay in Toronto as well.
Yeah, and with Toronto, they might have also figured something out by just shitting the bed in Game 5.
It is their optimal roster.
The Oilers
Exactly.
were the trailblazers of this.
Oh, yeah.
Like they've been regularly using it for quite some time now.
And they didn't have it at the beginning of the series, and then who was out? Ekholm was out for like one game, and then they decided to do it. Or Janmark was out for one game or whatever, and then they decided to do it. And then now it's worked too well, and you can't go back. And like, all credit to the LA Kings who had a great series, but just didn't have the depth to compete with a fucking fireball that the Edmonton Oilers are right now.
They're in such a interesting spot. I'm fascinated by their offseason because it just feels like their old guys are getting old a little too quickly and their young guys are not aging quickly enough.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But if they just click right in the middle there, it feels like you could have a cup.
I'm looking at their roster. There are no major players to come off of it except for the two guys like going to UFA, except for the two guys that are the guys that they acquired right before the deadline. So you got Gavrikov and you got Korpisalo. And I think if you're going to look at any must-sign player, it's Korpisalo.
Yes.
They have to sign him.
Yes.
If that's the goalie they identify, like there's a difference between he was the best guy available at the trade deadline and he's the best guy available in the summer. But they've also gotten to play with them. He knows them a little bit. They might even like him.
Yeah, what are they going to do with that Cal Peterson contract? Hope that they can rehab him, maybe? Get him back?
Like, is he...
He's got 2 more years, $5 million a year.
Yes, but what in actual money? That's just the cap hit, right?
Right, I can look that up, Steve. I got it right here.
No.
Your base salary is $1 million. Their bonuses... So after July 1st... If you want to trade Cal Peterson, the base salary will only be $1 million, but next year his base salary is $6 million.
Oh!
So it's almost untradeable because you've got $3 million of bonuses July 1st last year, $4 million of bonuses this year, but had they kept it bonus laden, they might have been able to move it.
I was about to say, Cal Peterson, you are an Arizona Coyote.
Yeah,
That's,
not quite. Not quite.
Ooh.
The other thing is interesting. I'm just looking at going deep on the LA Kings thing. They are still paying Mike Richards $900,000 a year until next year when it'll be $700,000, and then in a couple years after that it'll be $600,000.
It should be more.
But his buyout goes until 2031-32.
Is that the cap hit?
Well, it is a. So this is the weird thing is that it is a cap hit.
Yeah.
But it's for some reason the LA Kings were allowed to do, and no one still knows why, but they were allowed to do a buyout on the last year of his deal that was 17 years long. The first season of that was 2015-16. No one knows, and this is the...
Didn't it go to arbitration?
Yeah, and Dean Lombardi lost his job over this.
I mean, the rules are the rules until they're not the rules.
Right. I would still love for somebody to do a deep dive on this one. I don't understand how they did this. The other person they're still paying off, who can you guess? Who are the LA Kings still paying buyout? Why?
Kovalchuk.
Kovalchuk is that's a good one. I like that one. Who else could it be?
Ooh. They did have Lucic, but not Lucic. What position?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Ah, you stink.
I can't let you have that.
Not Dustin Brown. I don't know.
Dion Phaneuf.
What?
Yeah.
Dion!
So, Dion, what the fuck? So the Senators had to pay $354,167 to Dion Phaneuf this year, and the LA Kings had to pay $1.062 million and $500 to him this year.
And $500.
Yeah, include that 500. It's important.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy? Anyway, just random thoughts. So they're in. Now, Jesse. I call this, you could call this a lot of different things. You could call it like the different Subway series. I mean, they're just that close to each other. New York, New Jersey, but I call it the Jesse series. Okay? Because he's been waiting. Jesse, you think Jesse's been waiting for the Leafs first round since October? Hell no. He's been waiting for the Rangers since last playoffs.
Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and you called them. Now, New Jersey going into this game has a goalie who has stopped 80 of 82 shots over the previous 3 games. They not only could win the series, but they could win it at Madison Square Garden. If you're from New Jersey, you're like, fucking right. Stick it to the Rangers.
Yeah, fuck that wood roof.
Except it didn't happen.
Yeah,
that way,
how did that
it?
go?
Did not happen.
No, that
way.
first period reminded me a lot of a Leafs game because the Devils were on fire. They were caving in the New York Rangers, and then they're up 1-0 all period, and then we get to 24 seconds left in the first period. Oh, they allowed a goal.
Oh, Chris Kreider.
Oh, not great. Power play goal, Chris Kreider. Oh, what happened, New Jersey?
He's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And since that moment, Kreider and Zibanejad, unreal for the rest of that game, and those two just saved the Rangers season. And this isn't like foreign to them. The New York Rangers, over the last 7 elimination games, are 6-1. This is what they do.
Wow.
They get down, in a series, and they climb back and they win.
And their one loss was to Tampa.
Exactly.
Wow.
Who had Curtis Lazar scoring on their bingo card? Curtis Lazar opened the scoring in this game. Curtis Lazar.
Okay, so here's the look on my face is me trying to figure out which team he plays for.
Which one do you think it is?
Is it the Devils?
It is.
They opened the score.
It's like when Darren Helm scored for the Avs last year. We're like, really?
Yeah.
Where did they get him from? Vancouver?
I don't know. Journeyman, guy who was like a top 10 pick. There's big hopes in him, and I think in Ottawa.
He's one of those guys who sort of rebuilt his career to be a good player in a different role.
The way Shen did.
The way Shen did years ago, but Trevor Lewis kind of like, oh, he's a bust. Oh, wait, no, he's actually a very useful player.
Yeah.
In those 7 elimination games, Zibanejad has 13 points.
Good
Dude shows up, and that's all we're asking for. One, Igor held them to that 1-0 lead deficit in that first period. Without Igor, they're down a lot more than 1-0 after that first period, and thank goodness they have Shesterkin. And then the Stars finally showed up after not showing up for all of those games in Madison Square Garden.
I'm not gonna say who told me this, but one of the things I kept hearing about Mika Zibanejad is and this was a few years ago. This is right before. A lot of people forget right before COVID, he had like a 5-goal game and like rocketed up the goal scoring charts. What I was told about him is like he barely even likes hockey. It's like his secondary interest.
Oh my gosh! Really?
And that's one of the most underrated players in the National Hockey League.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I think he likes it.
You hear that more about NBA players because of their height. They've just been, they had to go into basketball. You know, it's the best way to make a living when you're 7 foot tall. You
You
could
could be light.
It's
bulb
just,
with Superman or
but it's
something.
probably a good idea.
be, so you
give it a shot.
You hear that a lot about really big guys in the NBA where it's like, hey, they could take or leave being an NBA player, but I'm an NBA player. It's kind of awesome, but it's not like their ultimate passion.
I think Zibanejad likes hockey.
I think he likes hockey.
I don't know. Sometimes I'd hear things and I'd be like,
Yeah.
Akira Schmid, by the way,
skeptical.
was pulled after giving up 5 goals on 29 shots, which I thought was a little unfair, to be honest with you. I didn't think he was that bad. But Vitek Vanacek
Maybe just saving him.
does get in the third with about 5.5 minutes to go. There's a 6-on-4 advantage, and Dawson Mercer beats Shesterkin. And then the Devils pull Vanacek again, and that is basically when it's over.
Question for the ultimate Devils fan in the room. Who do you start Game 7?
Oh, I think you
Swayman.
start Schmidt. I think you start Schmidt. I think you do that. I think you got to go with the guy that got you any win in this series.
Yeah, Vanacek hasn't won a game.
So if you go with the guy that, you know what, and he's a kid, like this guy's a kid, right? You can't, and the thing about Lindy, and like I know Lindy's been there, and I think he knows his I think his best goal he's ever had was Hasek. He knows when a goalie's rattled. So I think he pulled him out because he's like, we're not going to win anyway, and I need him for Game 7. I need his marbles to be in the right spot. Don't mess him up. Don't get injured. Just get Vanacek in there, and then Schmidt starts Game 7. Has to protect him. Long series.
If the Devils win Game 7, will you switch your lipstick to red for the next show? Because the Leafs.
No, I already promised Ailish from Fan 590 that I would do it the entire series.
Yeah, so just wear it red for the one game after their victory.
Okay, I can do
Yeah,
that.
that's
Maybe
what
I'll
I'm
do
saying.
one lip one way and one lip the other.
What?
I'll do a red and blue. Yeah.
Or
Serious hockey
put
then.
them over each other, make purple.
Oh, I like it.
I learned that from Barney the Dinosaur.
I like that. Now,
Who
I
do
want
you have in Game 7, Steve?
Oh.
Who are you picking?
I have the Rangers winning the series. What I have learned from these playoffs is to not back off of what I think is going to happen. So I'm going to have the Rangers in 7.
Jesse, who do you have?
Rangers in 7.
Devils, guys. This is Palat season. Get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready. He's going to bring it. It's his time to shine. This is what he does. This is why you sign him.
He's going to do it with ease, too. They're going to say, oh, that's Pilates.
Oh, boo. All right, I'll give you a high five, but it's still
That
hate.
was bad. That was so bad.
There are other series to
High-five
talk about.
me.
There are other series to talk about, but we're going to take a second from those, and we're going to go into the Winnipeg locker cleanout day
Oh, really?
because, frankly, they were the story of the day until the Leafs and Oilers advanced yesterday. And let's go back to...
It was a nice distraction.
It was. And we don't have to spend too much time on it, but I do think it's important. Now, Jesse, let's go back to what Rick Bowness, and I have it here.
Sure.
I just sent it to you. What did he say after their loss to Vegas in Game 5? It was pretty explosive. And it was interesting because, and I'm going to play it for you in a second here, we will now finally get to hear what the players have to say about that press conference. Rick Bowness, a very passionate guy, and here he is.
So disappointed and disgusted right now. That's my thoughts.
Where does the disgust come from?
Pardon me?
Where does the disgust come from?
No pushback. But it's the same crap we saw in February. It was. That's why so as soon as we were challenging for first place and teams were coming after us, we had no pushback. This series, we had no pushback. Their better players were so much better than ours, it's not even close.
Feels like you've been holding these feelings on for a bit. Is it just
Yep.
out of tonight's game or finally wanting to release that?
It started back in January and February.
When they were in first place.
What is it about this team's leadership core or the top end players? We've talked all
We got to push back. There's got to be a pushback. There's got to be pride. You got to be able to push back when things aren't going your way. We had no pushback. Their better players were so much better than ours tonight. They deserved to win. They were the better team in the regular season. They were the better team in this series. Anything else?
Now, this core has been under 3 head coaches in the last 18 months.
This dude got up like a dad leaving the house party.
And there have been
right.
rumors about... Yeah, he did.
Anything else?
All right. Let's
Get
rock and
out
roll. Let's rock and roll, as all dads say.
It's hit the road.
So now we get to find out what the players have to say. And remember, this core, like I said, 3 head coaches in the last 18 months. There have been conversations occurring for years about the quote-unquote potential poison in the dressing room. And it seems as though where there's been smoke, there's been fire, despite the fact that people have hated us every time we brought it up. Have a listen to how Blake Wheeler discusses and comments on Rick Bowness's comments from a couple of days ago.
I thought that Rick had an opportunity to address us as a team. And, because now we have to answer that question, right? And I think, he could have been honest with us. We could have had those discussions behind closed doors. So I didn't agree with how he handled himself after that game. I know that our performance in Game 5 wasn't up to a standard that we would have liked it to have been, and there's disappointment in that.
So he was right.
I know how my teammates and I prepare for every game. This is
NHL player?
the most important thing in a lot of our lives.
That's your job.
Not my life, but a lot of my teammates don't have kids, so this is the most important thing in their life. And the preparation and what we do in between games is nothing short of being all in on trying to win that game. And unfortunately, we didn't show up in a manner that we would have liked to. So there's, like I said before, there is room for.
Okay, so we can leave
Gosh,
it there.
that is just a big bunch of words.
Hold up, don't say anything. Because you also need to know what Kyle Connor had to say about it.
Ooh.
And I don't have the video, but he says that Rick Bowness's comments, and this is from Murat Ates of The Athletic. Kyle Connor says that Rick Bowness's comments reflect an emotional guy who wants to win. He says, we can ask Bowness if it was a mistake or if he'd changed things. Neither Connor nor Wheeler said they expect Bowness to be perfect, but they seem to wish Bowness had kept that behind doors. Now, Rick Bowness, who was not supposed to talk to the media, came out and did.
Which I respect.
So, what did he have to say? And Jesse's going to cue that up.
So I don't know what he said.
Oh.
If he walked it back, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Yeah.
I think you'll be interested. What do you think he did?
I hope he stands up
What do you think
for
he did?
himself. I hope he tells him to shove it. The impression I got, especially, dude, after seeing that clip yesterday of Blake Wheeler, I think if you just handed a pair of boxing gloves to Rick and to Blake Wheeler, and said, you two can legally box right now. You have 5 minutes. I think Rick would have taken the opportunity. And I think he might have beat the brakes off him.
Now, this is Rick at locker cleanout day when he was not supposed to speak.
Don't you dare, Rick.
Do you want me to hop to any time? It's 6 minutes.
Oh, shit. Okay, you know what? I'll just read the cue. Sorry, I'll read the quote. My bad.
I'll get it.
I'll read the quote because it's easier. Rick Bowness isn't happy with his choice of words, disgusted, but he said, I can't come to you after a game like Game 5 and sugarcoat it. I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not going to go in there and say, oh, we just missed this or we fought. I'm not going to say that. We had a bad game. It wasn't a good enough effort from most of the team. That's a fact. I can't hide from that, nor will I sugarcoat it.
I hate that he even walked it back an inch.
Yeah.
But that's mostly standing his ground.
Yeah.
I got
good for him.
so little time for that fucking Blake Wheeler quote.
Oh.
Like, holy crap. When he's like...
That room sucks.
When he's like, I was disappointed in Rick Bowness's emotion after the game, or whatever the words he used was. Like, hey, you're not the boss here, Blake.
No.
Like, that's the dude whose job it is to get you to call out what's happening amongst the players here. And he's saying it like it is, and you're like, I'm disappointed that he would say that.
Jets fans
Come on.
are disappointed that the head coach feels that way and the players don't.
Like,
100%.
It's just screaming at the top of your lungs, I don't get it.
And he said later on in that clip, by the way, Blake Wheeler, he says, I know how we prepare.
Yeah,
and I know what we do. And I have to tell you, Blake, it's not good enough.
Well,
it's just not.
Maybe
it's just not good enough.
The way I thought
how
it was,
you prepare is not there. Prepare more.
Well, how about this? The criticism was not about how you prepare.
Is that how you play?
Effort.
Yeah, Bowness didn't say, "Oh yeah, these guys were completely."
Yeah, they don't hit the gym. Like, he didn't say that.
They didn't fucking do anything. They were watching Rick and Morty on the couch all day. Like, he didn't say that. He said there was no pushback against the Vegas Golden Knights, who don't go away.
Why didn't you address why didn't you show up, Blake?
Like, the hilarious thing that we've been talking about with the Vegas Golden Knights is we're still trying to figure out if they're good. Like, despite where they finished in the regular season, we're like, are they good?
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
They find ways to win.
They find ways to win.
At all times. They can do that.
Yeah, but like, we didn't say that about like the Avalanche and the Lightning over the past few years. They find ways to win. Well, maybe we did in some situations, but usually the wow factor was with those teams as wow, they really kicked that other team's fucking ass. Mm-hmm. Because that's what they do. Whereas Vegas, they just grind out these wins. And I guess I thought the Jets were made of different stuff.
Why?
Well,
where's the evidence?
Great question. I thought they sort of got it back on track.
Suit.
Went back on track suit. Hey, see, full circle. When the Flames bowed out. And, I mean, beep, backing into that playoff spot. And, I mean, Vegas, you don't even know who their starting goalie is. You don't know who their starting goalie at the beginning of the series is. You don't know who it's going to be by the end. Like, a lot of people had the Jets play an upset here. Mm-hmm. And they just played shit hockey. There's no accountability in that room. And with that quote, I was at 100%. I'm now at 175% convinced Rick Bowness made the absolute right call to strip Blake Wheeler of the captaincy. That's awful. That is absolutely awful. And to me, that's just a quote from a checked out guy who should have been gone long ago.
That Rick was even more right.
He was 100% right, and Cheveldayoff has to blow that core to smithereens.
Murat Ates talked to Wheeler at Locker Cleanout Day, and he was talking about his time and about the extension. And Wheeler said if 2018, when they went to the Western Conference Final,
and looked great and should have gone to the final, but Fleury stood on his brain.
He said if 2018 didn't happen, I wouldn't have re-signed here. The only reason I did is I believed we had a chance to win. I thought in 2018, when we got to the Final Four, we were the best team. It was an opportunity we let slip. I've dedicated my career to this place because I believe we had the pieces to win. From that standpoint, yeah, it's disappointing to know that didn't come into fruition. And so he goes on to talk about the captaincy being stripped, which is why I bring this up. Murat says, but his captaincy was also so limiting that Rick Bowness saw fit to end it upon arrival, citing conversations with Winnipeg's core players as his reasoning. So that means that Bowness spoke to core players on the Jets, and they said he should not be captain anymore. Maybe not that directly, but we need a change.
At very least, they said things that implied maybe this isn't the gig.
Wheeler no longer wears the C, and his teammates report a dressing room culture that has improved a great deal since last season. So that tells you what you need to know. I mean, if you want to know Blake Wheeler's mentality, he just gave it to you at that press conference. That 1 minute bit, that's exactly his mentality, is it's never fully my fault. And don't you dare embarrass me for it.
There's a huge difference between maybe bad locker room guy, bad player, and bad person.
He's not a bad person.
I don't want to attack his character, but we're seeing a complete lack of accountability.
I also want to throw out there that there's this. Sometimes you're in a friendship or you're in a relationship where the person that you're with, despite the fact that you may love them and have a good time with them, doesn't bring out the best in you, and maybe you're capable of more. And I look at the Winnipeg Jets and I go, Mark Scheifele, great player. Blake Wheeler, still a valuable player. Kyle Connor, unfucking real. Josh Morrissey, the list goes on and on and on. But sometimes personalities don't bring out the best in other personalities. And I don't know who the right one and who the wrong one is here. But I will say this, it seems like they're not bringing out the best in each other right now. And you probably need to make some changes.
Scheifele should be a 50-goal, 100-point player. He should be. What was expected of him when he was originally drafted?
Yeah.
And it just never came to fruition.
So they're talking about their futures. And I think what's important about the Blake Wheeler conversation is it plays into the Scheifele and Hellebuck thing. So the Scheifele thing's a bit of a sideshow. He's like, it's too early to talk about. You guys remember the press conference last year where he was like, his eyes were popping out of his head and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'll be next year. And we're like, Mark.
To Scheifele's credit, he learned his lesson.
He said, I'm feeling pretty junky about not being able to play in the last game after being eliminated in the playoffs. So I'm sure in the coming days and weeks, there'll be time to reflect on it and feel like exactly what I'm thinking. Much better answer.
Absolutely.
But to me, Connor Hellebuck is the most telling of all. Because the Jets are facing this offseason a potential retool. Probably not a rebuild, but definitely a retool. You got to change the personality mix at minimum. And you're not going to trade Blake Wheeler, who needed to go last year. You're not going to trade him for a bunch of great value. You're just not. Not at $8.5 million. You're probably retaining, and you're probably not getting much in return. Connor Hellebuck said this, my main goal is to win a Stanley Cup, and I'm starting to run out of time, and I can feel it. Wheels talks about this all the time. It just flashes by.
That's a trade request.
And he said, and I'm starting to understand. You need to be in the hunt every year. You've got to make the most of your years. I'm going to make the most of whatever my situation is and give it my all and give everything I can in the spot or the team that I have. He said he's not interested in a rebuild. So part of his thinking will be impacted by the Jets' attempt to stay competitive this summer. He has yet to speak to Kevin Cheveldayoff as a part of his exit meetings when Murat and him spoke. So that's the major thing here. And by the way, if you're a Jets core member, you need to understand that Blake Wheeler, while he has been a part of the core for 7 years, I think, whenever he was traded from Boston, I don't believe that you can consider him that much longer. You know, he has held that position, and if he's around next year, is he the guy that he was 5 years ago?
Didn't
of course
he go
not.
3 months without scoring a goal or something like that?
Right. So, you know, we gotta ask, you know, when we talk about staying competitive and that sort of thing, what what is it that the Jets want? First off, who is their core? Who has a voice in that dressing room? And when older players are beyond their best years, and Blake Wheeler could come out next year, score 40 goals, and put me to shame. But the reality is, as it stands right now, he's not the guy that he once was. He's a, he's a guy that played 72 games. He had 55 points. Very good player, but not
for that amount of money.
Not for that amount of money, and you're not a core player at that point.
Right. That core is made up of probably still Ehlers,
Connor,
and Adam Lowry, Morrissey for sure. Like there's guys there. There's pieces in Winnipeg.
Cole
but
Perfetti maybe eventually when he gets
but the guys who've been there for too long, they've been there for too long and need to go.
Even without Hellebuck, I'm not convinced they stink bad enough to be in the first overall conversation, right? But I'm fascinated by what they do. Wheeler's contract stinks because he makes it's 8.2 against the cap. It's also 8.2 in actual money.
But if you have a strong culture and you need a guy who has been there, is tough, 220 pounds, 6'5", right winger.
You're trying to sell him right now.
And you get him at $4 million at 55 points. I think that's a pretty valuable
50% retained?
Yeah.
For an entire season of hockey? There's not a chance the Winnipeg Jets pay him $4 million to not play for them.
Okay, $6 million. For a right winger with those attributes,
I don't know.
They're going to be able to move him, guys. It's going to happen.
Maybe in July if a team swings and misses. Maybe. I just don't see it. And Hellebuck, pretty decent value, 6.16 against the cap, but it's 7.5 in actual money.
Yeah. So here's a couple of teams
to get
I look at in this offseason. Obviously, the Leafs are going to be one of them. They have to have They are going to have a conversation about. Well, are they going to go with Sammy? But who else with him? Is it going to be Woll?
I don't think they can afford a goalie as expensive as Hellebuck.
Okay. So the other team I look at is what would the LA Kings be willing to move?
That's exactly what I was going to, and they have the young assets that could certainly help kickstart your rebuild. I mean, you're not going to get like a Byfield. Man, they have so many good guys too. This is what I was talking about.
But you can take Korpisalo for just money.
Yeah.
Instead of sending assets out to get Hellebuck, why not just pay a guy with just money?
Yeah, and you can have Karel Vejmelka for pennies on the dollar against the cap, and is Hellebuck even the most appealing goalie out there? I mean, I think the key factor is Hellebuck is the best one.
Yeah,
the far and away the best one. Mm-hmm. But the hard cap screws teams, man.
They do.
I mean, I think Hellebuck and the Kings is such a match made in heaven. I just don't see how it happens.
That's got to be the last guy Winnipeg moves on from.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think there's gonna be a case for somebody to take Blake Wheeler. Because we always say this, there's no way you could trade that contract, and then some GM is dumb enough to take it.
I don't think he's a negative impact player, and you just use him cleverly, and I think we found the next captain of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Honestly? Maybe.
He's a Torts guy for sure.
That's not bad, Steve.
American Thanksgiving first fist fight between him and Torts, 100%.
Are we paying to see that spectacle on Thanksgiving? Is this Dana White putting on this show of John Tortorella fighting Blake Wheeler?
I'd so much rather watch that than anything either of the Paul brothers have ever done. I'd watch John Tortorella fight Blake Wheeler.
I'd love that.
Me? Rick Bowness comes in with a steel chair. His music hits.
Don't you think they'd get along, though? Torts and Wheeler?
Probably.
Yeah, but they would fight, though.
That's how their relationship
They would fight and then make up passionately.
It's
toxic. Yeah, they gotta fight to make it sexy.
All right, now you've taken it to a place.
It's what's the HBO show where they were always it was it was about the women. They were always overlooking they killed a guy and it was about the murder. What's the fucking show?
I know exactly. It was a good show too.
Good Girls.
What is it?
Good Girls?
No. It was based on the book.
No.
Zoe.
Zoe
Kravitz.
Kravitz was one of the stars.
Oh,
she was the woman who killed
Big
the
Little
guy.
Lies.
Big Little Lies. Damn it! Wow, that was annoying.
Why
I was
did that
thinking
take
of a
so
totally
Holy
different
crap!
man?
It's like Big Little Lies,
Yeah.
where they're fighting all the time, and then they have hot sex.
So that is why I was confused. I have not seen Big Little Lies.
It's the sex is hot.
Okay,
worth it.
I would not pay to see that. I'm going to keep my money.
Well, I don't understand why you wouldn't, but whatever. So anyway, the Winnipeg Jets are going to be a story of the offseason. We got to move on to the Canes and Isles. Paul Stastny wins it in overtime, former Winnipeg Jet. Now, Jesse, I have sent you a video, but we can't run it. But 1 second into the video, we're going to see, I love coach jumps. We should rate coach jumps out of 10. It's Rod Brindamore celebrating. He does not jump as high as Sheldon Keefe. But Rod Brindamore's been there before with this Canes team.
Yeah, well, Rod Brindamore has to carry around 350 pounds of muscle.
He's
That's
also
why he wasn't able to get up that high.
He's just very excited. I just think it's important to see his freeze frame as well because his celebration was fantastic.
He's like a rhinoceros who could stand on its hind legs. He's a jacked man.
He's just been it's been exciting, and obviously Stastny scoring was huge. And by the way, Jesse Puljujarvi on the ice for the goal as well. That's right, Jesse Puljujarvi is in the second round, kids.
Let's go. See, told you. Jesse Puljujarvi for a second rounder.
That's a good freeze
Finally
frame.
happened.
Yeah, right there. That's
Holy
a man
shit.
that loves his team.
I think he likes hockey.
Yeah,
I heard Rod Brindamore doesn't really like hockey.
I wonder if you could talk to Rod
Because the
Brindamore
British-
about anything else.
That one I just made up. But, oh, man.
Like, what could you talk to him about? And by the way, that was assisted on by Derek Stepan, who Stastny loves to call him Steps.
Hey,
Which is a good name.
It was
That's a good
also
nickname.
assisted on by Ilya Sorokin.
I thought
That's true.
Igor or Ilya?
Ilya Sorokin.
Ilya Sorokin.
Ilya Sorokin.
Igor Shesterkin.
I was like, wait, are they both Ilya?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Kevin Kurz
Right.
in The Athletic had something very interesting on the Islanders and like their season being over and breaking down some of the issues that they got going at the end of the regular season into the offseason. He identified some players where they're gonna have to make some decisions here. So Anders Lee had 2 goals in his final 16 games.
He was hurt, wasn't he? I thought he was hurt.
How hurt?
Hurt enough that he only had 2 goals in his final 7 games.
Pajot didn't record a single even strength point in the series.
That's bad.
Bailey, $5 million, has 1 year left, was a healthy scratch for all 6 games of the first round. And then we got Cal Clutterbuck, Matt Martin. Cal Clutterbuck, who's 35, Matt Martin, who's 33, are all signed through next year. So that's kind of your core. Plus, Bo Horvat, whose performance was not great at all. In the final 25 games, including the regular season, he managed just 3 goals and 7 assists.
I also think it's worth mentioning, like, they had Ranta for most of that series. He's a good goalie, but that is the backup goaltender. Like, as far as situations the Islanders could have fallen into, that's not a bad one.
Mm-hmm. Freddie Anderson stopped 33 shots, playing for the first time since my birthday, April 13th.
Well, there you go.
I think there's an opportunity here for Lou to remake like a good chunk of the roster, and I think the Islanders are going to be a very interesting team to watch for next season because I don't think they're not in rebuild mode. They're still in we're going to always try and win mode, and with their goaltending, like they have to, I think, in these situations. Plus some very good young talent, but there's a lot of aging players on the roster, and I think Lou's going to be wheeling and dealing this summer.
Well, there's something that I think the Islanders could acquire, or Lou Lamoriello could acquire. The beach. Is he going to sit there for a rebuild?
Exactly.
Like a retool? Just at what point do you retire? What is the record for the oldest GM ever? It's got to be him. So it's just every morning he wakes up, he breaks the record for the oldest general manager to ever general manage in the NHL. Dude's got to be 80. When was he born? What year was he born? Pre-moon landing for sure.
How old was David Poyle?
Younger.
You want me to look that up?
Maybe his 70s, but I'm pretty sure he's much younger.
David Poile is 73.
73. Yeah, he's not even close. 73 is like how old Lou was when the Leafs got him.
You're asking Lou.
I'm serious.
No, that's true. You're asking Lou to do something which he's never done before, which is not be directly involved in hockey.
Lou's 80.
He's 80 years old.
He's gonna be 80. He's gonna be 81 this year because his birthday's in October. So by the time the next season starts, well, a weekend of next year, the season, he's gonna be 81 years old.
That's so many years old. That's a lot of years old. And like, listen, when you're good at something, I mean, do it forever. Do it till they make you stop. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do they need a rebuild? Like, is it just...
Maybe a retool, I think.
I know we're heading into the... Yeah, okay. Are they retooling or are they just doing things? Like, because I think there's a difference. The Jets need a retool.
Uh-huh.
The Islanders just need to do some things.
Yeah, they have good pieces.
Hold on. But I keep waiting for you to get to it, Jesse, and you haven't done it.
What?
You have been waiting for this moment since the trade happened and since this series would happen. How have you not brought this name up yet?
What?
Jesse has been saying behind the scenes, one of these days we're gonna have to have a conversation about Bo Horvat.
Oh yeah, he hasn't been great. I mentioned that. Yeah, no points. Like he couldn't score.
But like deeper
for the
than
Islanders.
because I think you think that was potentially a really bad trade for them.
It was a bad trade, but Steve made a good point last episode when I mentioned it.
Well, they have 8 more years to figure it out.
In that they signed it. It can't be an awful contract if we got to wait 7 years to see how it plays out.
But they need to make sure...
It'd be a little premature if I go in on Bo Horvat here.
They need to make sure they lock in the players around Bo Horvat who bring him success, like Pierre Engvall.
Yeah, exactly. All-star.
He wasn't a bad acquisition for them.
He was one of their best players this series, Pierre Engvall.
Which is banana
Which
sandwich.
isn't great. And that's why I'm so fascinated to see how they go. Because I expected so little out of this Islanders team going into this year. I thought they missed the playoffs. I thought Pittsburgh would get that final spot. And time again, they proved me wrong. But in the end, they kind of were what they were in that they couldn't keep up with the Carolina Hurricanes, and they were a 7th seed who can't get out of the first round. So I think there's a lot of work to be done with the roster, and 80-year-old Lou Lamoriello is going to be working real hard this summer.
He's still ticking. He knows how to work a phone.
What year was Lou inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame?
2003.
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, you made that up?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you actually have it?
I
Jesse?
have it here.
When?
2009.
So I'm not that far. You guys acted like I didn't get it at least within the same fucking decade. I got it within almost the same half decade.
He was inducted 14 years ago.
Yeah. And he's still doing this thing.
And in 2009, they were like, "We just want to make sure that everybody, we want them around for this."
Oh my gosh.
Come on. Well, come on.
No, like that.
Like,
that
why
is-
was Gary inducted? Same thing, man.
that's
Gary's old as
something-
hell, man.
That's something that the Hockey Hall of Fame has been criticized for in the past.
Yes.
No, Pat Burns.
Pat Burns. Sorry.
Pat Burns. And like,
Pat Burns should have been
It's
in.
unforgivable that he wasn't inducted while he was alive. It was obvious he was getting in. Yes, it was special circumstances. Let him in the fucking hall.
Yeah.
Let him enjoy that moment. And they intentionally chose to not give him that moment.
And that's what I honestly, like, we make jokes or whatever, but I do actually think that was the case. Yeah. Gary, too. You get in your late 60s and, you start to think, well, got to make sure that the health stays good and all that sort of thing. Anything can happen, right?
Dude, Gary, Jim Rutherford,
Yep.
David Poile, Lou Lamoriello, lots of active people are in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
How many of them have worked for 14 years after their Hall of Fame induction?
Lou Lamoriello and no one else.
Gary will be, though. Gary will. Gary's only 70.
He's not going anywhere?
No, he's not going anywhere. You're stuck with Gary for the next 20 years.
Go to the beach. It's so good on the beach.
Now, let's talk about the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. Dallas wins the game 4-1 and will move on. Steve, you're going to bully them, right? You're going to bully the Wild now, right? Because that was what you said earlier in the show, that now they're your team.
I need to think of material on the way home. And also, this coffee has gone through my system, and it's hitting me how unbelievably tired I am.
Well, you're going to have to hang in there just a little bit longer. Jake Ottinger
I hit no bell.
played in front of his family and won the game because he's from Minnesota. He didn't even allow a goal until 12:53 into the third period.
Jake Otter might be good.
He might be heir apparent to best goalie in the NHL. I know we're getting really excited about like Devin Levi and stuff, but like let's let him do some stuff first.
No, let's Jake Ottinger is if there's
Wolf.
anybody that's going to supplant Vasilevsky, I think he's got the best shot.
Well,
and him and Shesterkin. Sorry, Shesterkin.
Well, Vasilevsky has the reputation as best playoff goalie. Shesterkin's got a shot at that mantle. I mean, the Rangers keep going on these runs, right? But Ottinger's right there.
Right there.
Ottinger's right there, and he's got just a world beater air about him. How wasn't that Flame series a sweep?
I know.
What does
Game
an
7
otter
overtime.
sound like?
Oh, I don't know. Is that what they sound like?
I don't know.
Is that what they sound like?
I don't know.
I'm an otter.
I don't think they say I'm an otter.
I'm an otter.
It's like Pokemon.
They should do otter chants.
That would be very complicated.
No, and they take two pucks and they crack them together on their tummy.
No, guys, it's Texas.
Oh,
you
that's
bring a
good.
shotgun and you go boom. That's what it sounds. That's what an otter sounds
You
like.
just
Am I
fire
right?
it in the air. They got to replace the roof every home game. They got to replace the roof 41 times a year.
That's right, and they keep
Then
making it
playoffs.
bigger because everything's bigger in Texas.
I was trying to say something fun about animals, and we brought guns into
Yeah,
it.
well,
Well,
not having.
Jesse, have you ever had 30 to 50 feral hogs run into your backyard?
And then you get the helicopter.
That's right.
That's right.
I've seen those videos.
Eric Sedek was not there for a few of the last games because he was injured. He left after game 3 in a walking boot. He tried. I guess he got injured in game 2, tried in game 3, didn't work. And not having him on the PK is tough. But listen to Ryan Hartman's comments post-game. He says, I'm sick to my stomach about it. The city deserves better than what we gave them. The fans, they've shown up for us all year, and we failed them. Now, take that, and if you have Blake Wheeler say that,
Stop it.
is that not the same? Was it not the same? Ryan Hartman took responsibility.
On one hand, Jesse's right. Stop it. On the other hand, you fucking nailed it.
That's what taking responsibility is. The coach was mean to me.
Okay.
He didn't take
Oh, he was mean.
he didn't take any of the excuses available.
Yeah,
to him.
exactly. Kirill Kaprizov's stat line is the real story here. He had 7 goals against the Blues in the first round last year. Okay. He finished the 6-game series with the Stars with 1 power play goal, no assists in 378 minutes and 8 seconds without a point. His stat line is literally 6 games, 1 goal, 0 everything else. And that is shocking. And it speaks to, he was also -3. It speaks to how good Dallas was.
Yes, there's a few things at work there. I know Wild fans weren't thrilled with the way penalties were called, or rather not called, around Kirill Kaprizov. And also, like, it was a surprise to even see him back in time for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? I can't remember what his injury was, but it was very significant. He was out for like a month. And, you know, it's one of those injuries where he comes back and you know he's not right. You know he's not 100%.
Yep.
It's not a video game. All your attributes go back to normal the second
Yeah,
the
it's
time
not the way it
period-
works.
No, you're a 93 and you're knocked down to a 70 and you got to build your way back up to that 93.
This is likely Matt Dumba's last game for the Wild.
He just doesn't factor into their plans financially anymore.
Well, I don't think anyone can. They are the most cap-strapped team in NHL history. There's never been a team this cap-strapped with dead money on their cap, and
yet they have they have a fun little system, like a really underrated system.
Listen, they'll be back.
Matt Boldy, young in his career, and Dustin Wolf, Devin Levi, all those young goalies getting the attention. Jesper Wallstedt is going to be really special for the Wild. And imagine you have a tandem of Wallstedt, Gustafsson. Could be big.
Well, and Marc-Andre Fleury did say post-game he wants to keep playing.
Oh, he did.
Hey.
Oh, I thought there was a stat of all the active NHL players who were still playing the last time the Leafs won a series. And it's just a list of people who are retiring.
Yeah.
Craig Anderson is already retired. He's not active.
Well,
and I thought Fleury was going to join that
You
list.
saw the stat about Sheldon Keefe is the only living coach to coach the Leafs to a second round.
Did you hear that stat?
Did you say that earlier?
You said that on the LFR.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's from Jessica Corbett, who
This is from Steve Dangle's LFR.
used to do the social for the Vancouver Canucks, and more importantly, used to do the social for the Oshawa Generals.
Yeah.
And that is stupid.
Marc-Andre Fleury is an interesting guy. If the Wild, because they do pay him $3.5 next year, if they decide that Wallstedt's ready,
He's under contract?
yeah,
Yeah, it was
there's a
a
2-year deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought he was on. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he'll be back.
So
Make the money.
I thought he was a UFA.
Philip Gustafson's got to be re-signed, and he was making $787 this year, so I think he's due for a raise. So if you let's say they decide Wallstedt's ready, and they want to reallocate the Fleury money, they can't buy him out because it's a 35+ contract. There's another guy that you think, if you're a team that's looking for a veteran who's been there, who is amazing in the locker room, hilarious guy, I'm curious about what teams are going to take the Boston model and go tandem next year. And Marc-Andre Fleury seems like a perfect guy to be able to do that, especially if you've got a goalie in waiting that you're just not quite ready to put in the NHL yet. You might even be a Wild.
I mean, you know who could use some fucking goaltending and also an attitude adjustment? And I might know an agent who can make this happen. I mean, Fleury in Calgary, I think, would cure a lot of what ails them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think anybody looking at Calgary right now is if Sutter's there, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
That seems to be, and that's not just Calgary Flames players, because there was a leak to, I think it was Boomer out there, was saying that an agent had talked to him and said there's several players that have spoken behind the scenes and said, if Sutter's back, we will not be.
Wow.
And so, so if you're considering a move and you're Marc-Andre Fleury, and the Wild are going to do right by Marc-Andre Fleury if he's not a Minnesota Wild player next year, you have to think that if Sutter's there, why would you sign up for that?
I mean, let's stop dancing around it. The perfect fit for Fleury when it comes to vibes and when it comes to actual need, Penguins.
Oh,
Dude,
that would be so great.
Casey DeSmith wasn't good enough, and I mean the vibes.
Tristan
are off.
Jarry,
Fleury and Jarry.
I like that.
If I'm a Penguins fan and I hear more of, hey, we're doing the old guy thing again, let's see how that worked last year and do it again, I'd be a little scared.
Yeah, but the difference is instead of locking up a bunch of old guys who are like, I don't know, 3 years older than me and Adam. Crosby's only one. It's with Fleury, this is a one-time thing. He's going to play one more season and he's retiring.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
You're moving somebody off a good little Penguins roster that needs a lot of work?
Well, I don't really see Minnesota getting a king's ransom for Fleury, because we were just talking about how they need to get rid of Dumba just for cap, not even because he's a bad player. They need the money. If you can, if I'm the Penguins, I'm calling the Wild at very least to see if I can get a really solid goalie who's a fan favorite for pennies on the dollar. The Penguins need a victory right now.
Yeah,
they need a victory,
and that's why.
Who's even in charge of making that decision?
Well, it'll be interesting. We don't know yet, but I think that's why it'll be interesting when the Pens go with
Kyle Dubas.
They'll go with Marc-Andre Fleury,
Kyle
Matt
Dubas.
Murray, and Tristan Jarry as their goaltenders next year.
Kombucha's turning your blue lipstick purple.
Oh yeah, it's very purple.
You've had it the whole show.
No.
I can't stop looking at it, bro.
I'm just saying, Matt Murray is available. They got to make it happen.
Say Kyle Dubas will acquire them.
Kyle Dubas is not going there. They offered him a contract last night.
President.
They're like, what do you want?
President
Just
of
write
the
the number
Pittsburgh Penguins. Kyle Dubas.
He's not going.
President.
He's not going. He's built this team. He's too excited. The Avalanche and Kraken, Colorado won convincingly. But there's some pretty serious kickback about the Eberle hit, non-penalty, non-suspension. So we'll talk about the game, and then we're going to talk about Cogliano and his neck being broken. Vince Dunn became the 14th different player to score for Seattle this postseason, which is wild. Rantanen scored in the final seconds of the first, tied it at 1. Then the Avalanche sort of dominated after that. And Rantanen, by the way, you should check out his stat line. It's 6 goals in 6 games.
He's stupendous.
And he said it was the first time that it's the first full 60 that he felt like they'd played. Now, getting into the Cogliano and Eberle hit, Jordan Eberle, I think it's fair to say, not a dirty player.
Not at all.
But
no, he plays with honor. He's not a dirty player. But
dirty players can do bad things.
Clean players.
I mean, wow, that's
dirty players. Oh, yeah.
Also
that.
Right. But I wasn't wrong. But also clean players can do bad things. And that seems to be what happened here.
It's a bad hit. And, I mean, Cogliano had a neck fracture, which I thought was a very cute way of saying he broke his neck.
Yep.
And there wasn't even a hearing for a hit that I think got a 2-minute minor.
2-minute minor. And it should have been a 5-minute.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
and here's the thing. He broke his neck and went back on the ice.
I guess he didn't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough medically.
Jared Bednar said today at a press conference that he's out for the playoffs. It's a C5. He's seen an MRI, and obviously it's broken. And he's going to have another imaging session today to see if there is more damage. Says 5 years. Says from 5 years, you do not know what a hit from behind can do to you in 5 years, that is. And he hated the hit. So, the NHL, okay, I can understand, guys, a 2-minute penalty here. I can understand it. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. And by the way, our logo has come off the screen now, Jesse. We've
been recording for too long.
That's right. I can understand that being the case because that's the way they're going to call it in the playoffs. It's game 5, game 6, game 7. The penalties are going to be low. They're not going to call 5-minute majors unless it becomes super obvious and a guy's neck gets broken. But anyway, but what I don't understand here is how Department of Player Safety does nothing. I don't get that.
Eberle on Cogliano led to a broken neck. Maroon on Giordano luckily didn't lead to anything, but Giordano was down, and I'm sure he's not playing at 100% right now. They're being very blasé and lenient with this shit, with hits from behind. And it's a dangerous, dangerous trend. Very dangerous trend. I mean, one of the most durable players of the past generation just had his neck broken from a hit from behind, and there was no recourse. And I would hate for the discussion for even a moment to have turned to, yeah, but it's game 7. He broke his fucking neck. Mm-hmm. And like, you know how teams will release the injury report to help their case in terms of getting a guy suspended? Mm-hmm. A broken neck, even a fractured neck, whatever, wasn't enough to even get a hearing.
Not even a fine.
Not even a fine. And I love Jordan Eberle. I love him very much.
No, this isn't a Jordan Eberle thing. This is a George. This is the George Peros regime. Excuse me. And Sam Lafferty got a $3,500 fine earlier this week for cross-checking somebody. You couldn't give him a $3,500 fine. Michael Bunting sat for 3 games. He has 0 games suspension history.
Jason
0.
Spezza played 2 decades. No hearings, no meetings with the Department of Player Safety. I don't even think he had a fine. 6 game suspension. Like, not to make it about the Leafs, but what the fuck are we doing here?
Well, Peros was a Montreal Canadian.
Yeah, for a hot minute.
Doesn't matter.
Like,
I don't think he likes. I think it's. Listen, guys. If we're gonna look at George Peros suspensions, there's been some pretty big ones on.
I know. Producer
it's a little
Drill's
obvious.
Losing his mind right now that we actually had the Avalanche conversation and we made it about the Leafs.
Oh wow,
you're not wrong. Like I do not have a grasp of how this is not a hearing. What if you had a hearing and you decided it was nothing?
It's important to go, okay, how's the NHL seeing this? How would they see this? And what I don't understand is like, what possible information could they have to lead them to think, oh, this is definitely not like that because sometimes it is important to be like, well, it's important. The person I disagree with, this is what they could be thinking. I don't see where that could be here.
He sees numbers the entire fucking time.
Even Maddie gasped in here.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
Like
his neck, it's just so gruesome. And where's the benefit of the doubt for Cogliano in terms of doing the right thing? This dude's been in the NHL for how long, played how many games, and just nothing. You can't argue against this.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's so
I mean, I typically wouldn't call Eberle a violent gentleman, but
stop it.
What?
So anyway, that's sort of the story there. It's unfortunate that became the story. They are going to a 7th game as well, so that's going to be fascinating, and that will be tonight.
The NHL's, I mean, they got to ditch that guy. They got to be done with George Parros. You're not going to get a safe National Hockey League with George Parros as the head of player safety. You know what they serve in pizza shops? Pizza. You're getting exactly what you're paying for. It's George Parros, dude. What are you doing?
That's a good point. Kraken and Avalanche tonight after the Panthers Bruins, and then Monday night we got the Rangers and we got the Devils, which I know it's going to be the Jesse Blake.
We got 2 versus 1 because we all made our picks for that. Who you guys got in Kraken Avalanche? Because you picked the Rangers, right, Steve, earlier? So
Yeah.
who you got Kraken Avalanche?
I still think Colorado finds a way to do this. It's that championship DNA versus team that just got there. But if the Kraken pull it off, geez, I won't be surprised. I've learned to not underestimate them. I can't believe the series has gone 7, let alone they had a chance to finish it in 6. I didn't think they had this in them.
Could you see a 15th Kraken score for the team this year? Or this
Is that how many?
Scored? Yeah, I said that. Vince Dunn became the 14th.
Wow.
Grubauer's
Different
one.
Yeah.
Grubauer's getting one.
No, I got the Kraken win in this one.
Do you
I think
really?
they pull it out? Yeah. They've looked so banged up, and I don't know how many times McKinnon can just be like, okay, I'm the only guy out here. I'm going to try and do it myself. And then the Kraken, just the depth. We'll see. But I got the Kraken. That's who I picked in my bracket, so I'm going to stick with it. And Adam, who do you got?
I'm gonna have to say the Kraken. I really like the way they're playing, and I also think Colorado is banged up, and they obviously have a player that is not in the series any longer either, for reasons that aren't entirely clear. But how can you not say the Kraken? And I want that 15th player to score.
Who do you guys pick? Florida, Boston.
I still think
Boston.
It's Game 7 in their own building. I know that's how they lost the Cup final in 2019, but
this isn't the Cup final.
This isn't the Cup final. No, it's extremely hard to win in Boston, and the Panthers have already done it twice, I think.
Yes. I was 5-2.
If you take 3, let me tell you something, Leaf fans. If the Panthers take 3 of 4 in Boston, you should not be celebrating that you have to take these guys on.
No. Either of these teams, these are 2 tough matchups. But I do think what's going to be even more interesting, or as interesting as that, is if Boston does win, who starts game 1 of the second round?
I'm probably Swayman.
Because he's the one who won. But Ullmark's been your goalie.
You can go back to him. Yeah, but I think he's hurt. I think he's hurt.
Or at least fatigued.
Part of me wonders if Jim Montgomery looked at... because remember, it was game 2 for Minnesota. Part of me wonders if Jim Montgomery saw what happened in Minnesota and went, nah, I'm not making that same mistake.
Yeah.
And it turns out it would have been the right thing to do.
Here are the 6 players that have not scored for the Kraken.
Oh, that's what you've been doing? What do you got?
Well, first off, McCann, I'm still not sure if he's going to be back. I think he's back after that Cale Makar hit, but he has not scored. Oliver Bjorkstrand, Adam Larsson, Carson Soucy, Ryan Donato, and Jesper Froden all have not scored. Even Ty Carty scored.
I'm going to pick
Who do you pick?
Bjorkstrand.
Jesse, who are you putting money on?
That's a good pick.
Bjorkstrand, Larson, Soucy, McCann, Donato, Froden.
No, it's Adam Larson.
Adam Larson.
Yeah.
Woo!
Adam Larson, game-winning goal party. Let's go.
I'm going to say Oliver Bjorkstrand. Because.
Shot from the point, deflected in.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I love that. All right, now
a shot.
We have been on for a while. Are we doing the press conference, Jesse? Probably not. Okay, so
no.
let me just read you one last tweet.
Okay.
From October 8th, 2015. Somebody said, at Steve Dangle, can you tweet me something inspirational to use as an inspirational quote for a school project? And Steve said, in 2015, this is pre-Matthews, pre-Marner, pre-Nylander, I believe. I've believed in the Toronto Maple Leafs my entire life. The least you can do is believe in yourself. And at Felix Potvin, Kemi, on Twitter said, this tweet is from 2015 and I think about it a lot. He tweeted this today. We were all young and hopeful. All of the people blogging about the Leafs back when this started have families now. This win was a long time coming. Pretty darn cool. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to you, Leaf fans.
Congratulations to Steve Dangle. Great victory last night.
I did it. Well done, buddy.
I did it.
We're going to get a second round LFR, baby! Let's go!
The Steve Dangle Podcast.
Powered by Sports Interaction. Want to bet?
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.